Times the detail. Shout out to the chess club. We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10.
Death to all of them.
Okay, everyone, it's time. It's time. Are you ready? We're gonna rock and roll. We're gonna rock and roll, have a rock and rollin' good time. I'll tell you what, here right now. First, I'm gonna publish our video on Manor Lords. Shout out to the publisher and the dev for hooking me up with early access to it. Early access, so I could put together a video on Manor Lords for launch. Holla. Okay, there we go. Voila, it is finished. It is finished. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Everybody feeling good? It's Friday. We're in the home stretch of the week. It's always weird for me to say that because I'm always like, "Hey guys, it's Friday. We made it." But like I have a made up job. Let's just be real. So it's always weird for me because, like, yeah, we made it. Phew. But for me, it's like hasn't been that difficult of a week for me. I'll be real. Which, you know, it's just weird. It's a very first world problem, but I've talked about it before. Like when you meet up with your friends, like, you know, you go out with your buddies to the bar and everybody's talking about how annoying it, like, their jobs are, or how they need a break or a vacation or whatever. I'm that jerk that's just like, wow, well, I love what I do for a living and I am cherishing every moment that I have doing it. So yeah, you know, it makes it kind of awkward at those group dinners and stuff. But you know what? Who cares? Screw up. We're happy. We're vibing. That's what we do be doing. I'm gonna change the profile on this monitor because it's a little too dark for me. That's way too dark. Oh my god, it keeps getting worse. I keep making it worse. I'll do that. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. We love that you do what you do. Yeah. Well, I'm glad, Samish. And, you know, it's the age-old problem of like when you're doing well and other people might not be doing well, it's awkward to talk about and be thankful, like verbally thankful about how you're thankful for how you're doing. You know, it's like at Thanksgiving, if somebody goes, like, you know, they go around the table and they're like, okay, everybody go around and say what you're thankful for this year. And one person's like, I'm thankful that I finally got that wart off my foot. And then the next person goes, I'm thankful for my family members that are not dead yet because they had somebody pass away. And you're like, oh God. And then it's my turn. And it's like, like, how do I follow up on that? I don't know. You know, you're kind of stuck. Yeah. Oh, dude, Brad, congrats. Hey, Luke, I found out this Wednesday I'm going to be a dad. Any tips for a first-time dad? I guess I'll do two. For one, I will say take lots of pictures all the way through the process, because you'll look back at it now and like look back at those pictures and be like, oh my God, I cannot believe that was a year ago, 2 years ago. So really try to document it. If you have like an iPhone, get that journaling app that they launched and write journals about the process and everything, because you'll one day be very, very thankful you did. So really cherish the time. Both during like the pregnancy and then also when the baby comes. Beyond that, when the baby comes, this sounds like a joke, but it's not. Do back stretches. Like, for the love of God, do back stretches. Like, my lower back hurt so freaking bad for the first like month, just because as a dude, I know this might come as a surprise to some of you, I don't spend much time on my knees. So for me to get down and change diapers and stuff was a very different thing, because I would just get up in the morning, walk to the car, and then get in the car, drive to work, get in the office, sit in the chair and do that. Like, I wasn't bending over all that much, but you're going to be bending over a lot to pick babies up. Yeah, changing tables to pick babies up off, you know, a little bed you made them on the floor out of blankets and pillows or whatever else. So for me, the piece of advice I've given people that I've heard like no one mention is like lower back stretches or exercising your lower back. Like at the gym when you lock your feet into that brace and you do like the back extensions and then you lean down and then you stretch it out. Do those for like a month or two. 'Cause oh my gosh, it'll wreck you. It'll wreck you. But it'll be the most satisfying experience of your life, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what right now. Guys, I heard that there's been another disaster in the Tarkov space. I might need some of you guys to explain part of this to me because I don't fully grasp what is going on, but I think I get a rough idea. Yeah, Brett, congrats again. Just had my gym workout this morning. Katie, good for you. Getting out there in the morning. I love early mornings. I love early mornings. Specifically long drives. Like I like waking up in the morning and starting a road trip. That for me, you get like a coffee in your thermos or a Red Bull. Shout out to Red Bull. And you just get on the open road. For me, there's just something so deeply American about it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. If you do have a sudden day that you want to work out and you haven't worked out for a while, do not overdo it and break your back. May not be able to pick up your baby. Yeah. The thing is, like the first week of any new workout routine, if you've taken a good amount of time off, the first week, go way lighter than you think you should. Because you can screw yourself up. Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse. We call it the house. Yeah. For me, I call it the house because it's the house, you know. If Asmongold has an hour-long video on it, it's probably bad. Yeah, well, I guess we could just talk about that real quick because I don't fully understand it. Okay, let's just get into it. New segment. Okay, so I'm not big into Tarkov. I haven't played it more than like an hour. I got like access to it, tried it a bit, and then I was like, I don't really understand what's going on. And then I got distracted with other games that I haven't touched it since, and that was like a year and a half ago. I don't have anything against it necessarily. I've never gotten into it. But apparently they've done something quite stupid, and it all happened with a reveal of some sort of trailer, or a new edition rather. Let's see what this is. I'll unmute it. Okay. The Unheard Edition. Play offline. Okay. Start with increased stash, increased character, skill levels, improved starting equipment set, increased PMC pockets. And they're saying progress will carry over from private games to public ones. So it's just got pay to win stuff. And much more. Wow. So my initial impressions, again, I'm not too familiar with the game, so correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying anything or if I have any false assumptions. Somebody step in and correct me. Play offline with friends. So you're able to play offline only if you buy this Founders Edition or this whatever Unheard of Edition. Co-op PvE mode with persistent character progression. So again, they're locking game modes behind this. And this is $250. £200 or like 430 Australian dollar dues. Unique gear, which, I mean, special editions often have gear. I don't like when they have gameplay affecting stuff, especially in a competitive game, which this is. Unique melee weapon, unique awards. And then this is the thing that would particularly peeve me. Any online game or any game where players are like working towards some common goal, whether that's leveling up or ranked or whatever else. I hate it when there are two tiers of players. I hate it when there's two tiers of players, period. Like, even in the case of like Hogwarts Legacy, where if you pre-ordered the game, you got access to like the evil spell arena. But if you didn't pre-order, or maybe it was just the deluxe version, either way, you had to pre-order it. And so they had classes of players who either pre-ordered it or got the special access to that because they were either more reckless or spent more money, or those who just bought it day one and didn't get access to it. And I just find creating classes of players to be such a toxic thing. I hate it. But that's how they price it, and that's how they monetize it, is it's designed for FOMO. It's designed to make you like not want to look like the loser on the outside that didn't get access to it. I've brought it up plenty of times before, so I'll just quickly mention it. But it's like that story I told of my little brother who was playing Fortnite, and I offered to play with him and bring my gaming laptop and play Fortnite with him. So I was like, that'll be a good big brother thing to do for me. Pat myself on the back. And I came over and he's like, do you have any like other skins? It's like, what do you mean other skins? He's like, well, you have a noob skin right now, and if you play with noob skins, all of my friends are going to make fun of you. So maybe before we play, you get like a better skin. That is precisely what the FOMO is. That's precisely what the peer pressure is. These games are designed around that to try and push you into it. And in more competitive games targeted towards adults, more like with Tarkov, it's more about the progression. Like if you want to level up quick, if you want improved gear, if you want that stuff, well, pony up more cash. Do it to it. Which just sucks. It just sucks. And I mean, this is one of those out of touch things. This is like, after they found some success, they stepped too far. It's like all that stuff with the Watcher that went down, like last week. If you guys missed this, these are like the old BuzzFeed guys that did BuzzFeed Unsolved, Shane and Ryan, and then some dude that just makes videos of him eating expensive food. And they created this channel, millions of views, like 3 million subs, tons of success, making lots of money. They should be very, very happy with where they are. And they announced they're leaving YouTube because they want to create their own website that you can pay $6 a month to get access to their videos on. And naturally, people lost their minds. They lost hundreds of thousands of subs. Like they were at 3 million just about. They lost a lot. People overwhelmingly revolted and were like, you guys are insane. Like, you've been saying eat the rich and like pirate media and all this for years, and now you just got a big head and you got greedy and you thought that you could milk your audience for a little bit more. And so they walked it back, to their credit. They're going to do some unique series or something on their own website. But yeah, big oopsie. This is, I think, the same kind of thing where they find success and they think, well, we got this far. Let's just go a little bit further. Let's go a little bit further. I think the same thing's happening with Tarkov. The Tarkov community is in uproar with an Unheard edition of the game for $250, offering a limited PvE mode and potentially pay-to-win perks, which is what it seems like to me. Tarkov previously had an EOD version, which people had purchased, that promised all future DLCs. BSG got rid of it and is now selling this edition at a discounted price to EOD holders. I don't even know how that's legal. I've never seen the Escape from Tarkov community this strong and united. Proud of you guys. I know that I'm not the biggest Tarkov creator out there, but it is my main income, and I wish we could get enough of us to boycott Tarkov right now, not buy/play and subsequently promoting this pay-to-win $250 edition that mostly should be DLC for EOD owners anyway. Now that I see the price is $95 for the EOD owners, that shit is greedy AF. You guys promised so many things when we bought EOD. Why do we have to buy the stuff again? The stuff you added on top of EOD isn't worth the $95. Should at least be $25 to $50 DLC. Last take on this. Golly. And then even more. All EOD accounts need to be upgraded to the Unheard Edition. We pay for your game. I don't think they should have the Unheard Edition, period. It's got pay to win stuff. Do you hate your player base? Y'all gonna address any of this? You may as well mute this because you're about to get cooked. Pay me $250 and I will. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna, like, I don't know if they're gonna do anything. Pain. I woke up to hell today. Hello, Jake. Welcome to our world. Yeah. And this is not the first like controversy with Tarkov, is it? I think they've had a handful of things like this where they push a little too hard, they get a little cocky. They're like, oh, you get away with that. That's fine. Whatever. I'm pretty sure. I remember other things and other stories coming up about it. I don't know. It's just really too bad. Because like we said, they were on they found success in a very competitive market with a shooter, and they just can't take a win. They're like, let's just keep pushing. Let's just keep going. Why not? Why not? So I'm glad the community is speaking up about it. I think it should be clear that they shouldn't tolerate any pay to win stuff. They shouldn't tolerate any gameplay affecting DLC, because once you put up with it for a little bit, it becomes normalized and people get used to it, and that just becomes standard. And we've seen that with other publishers as well. Like Ubisoft is a great example, where the XP boosts that were, I think those things started back when I was still in like high school. Those things started like well before I was making videos, and people got kind of used to them. And then it was just like what they do. They just do XP boosts. If you want to pay $5 to play less of the game, you can do that. And once that precedent is set, it's hard to get it out. And that's why I'm so proud of the gaming community for like standing up to NFTs and standing up to like loot boxes, and when everything was based around card packs, you know, back in like 2017. I'm glad we all stood up to that and we're like, no, this is ridiculous. We're not doing that. And they largely moved past it. And, you know, we still see some egregious monetization. We talked recently about that $80 thing in Call of Duty. It's like $20 for each pack, and you need all 4 packs to get the full gauntlet thing. And it was very, very stupid, but at least it's like totally optional, and it doesn't seem to be better than other stuff. It doesn't really affect gameplay, but even then, that it probably shouldn't be there for certainly $80. But this thing, it just seems to have gameplay affecting stuff in it. And I think it's just a 1-2 punch of controversy, where on the one hand, there's a lot of the community that bought the like whatever EOD edition or version that promised all future DLCs. So they should get this for free. And they're not. They're instead getting it at a discount, which pisses them off. And then beyond that, they also are upset that it has gameplay affecting stuff. So people are upset about that. And when you got like 2 or 3 things about one of these announcements that are bad, it can make a mess. It can make a mess. Wasn't there something about the skin for this knife also being like part of a like online shop or something? They bought access for it. Let me see. Nope, I don't see it. Okay, maybe not.
City. I killed your girl. So.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That was the night you let me die. But when I looked you in the eye, that's when I knew.
$6 skin from the Unity asset store. It was debunked, different meshes. Okay. Because I could have sworn Jake posted something about it, or somebody like Jake posted about it, and it looks like they took it down because I can't find it. So if they took it down because it was debunked, good on them. Yeah. Yeah. It was dev unit, that's why devs started leaving. They wanted to charge devs per download of the game after a certain threshold. Oh yeah, yeah. That was the whole thing. It was a bit of a mess, I'll tell you what. By the way, Brad, thank you for becoming a member, and also Warwolf, thank you for becoming a member. I don't know why it's not doing the little... I have the sound turned on. I don't know why it's not going off. Odd. Okay, I just refreshed it. We'll see if that fixes it. Okay. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy that they thought that would go over well. I want to be like a fly on the wall in some of these meetings with executives and just be like, how did they think the community was going to respond to that? Like, they knew they were dropping a $250 DLC that had gameplay affecting stuff that they were not including in the free DLC, but they thought of it enough to include a discount for those that should get it for free. Like, they had to know this was going to be received very poorly. And it just seems like, I guess they didn't care. Maybe. I don't know. It's ballsy. It's ballsy, I'll give him that. Yeah, I lucked out. Somebody was willing to donate $10 for me to get the Joker without having to grind 5 hours to do it. But even then, I was like, I tried to be very clear. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm gonna get this so we can see if it's worth it. And maybe me spending that $10 will prevent 1,000 other people from spending $10, you know? But it's tricky. It's tricky. Large Western audience in a Russian developed game. Conspiracy? Sure. Maybe. Sure. Make your stream pay to win. Members only mode. Or what was it? I think Wings of Redemption, his famous quote is he's like, if I don't get 20 bucks in super chats in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to turn off the stream, or I'm going to turn off the mic and camera. And like, he'll hold his own stream hostage where he'll just have people watching. And if he doesn't get the donations he wants, he just like shuts off the camera or stops talking. It's like, Jesus, dude. Wow. Wow. Which, I mean, it's pretty funny, honestly. It's pretty funny. If only it were like, if it were a parody, that would be very funny. But he's unfortunately serious. Thoughts on Unity's stock price? I haven't looked at it. I just spelled it Ubity. Unity Technologies. I mean, I haven't dug into their financials, so I don't really know where they're at or what. Where they're at in terms of profitability, earnings per share. I mean, they're just hemorrhaging money. They're losing 40 cents on every dollar. Wow. It's tough because they're like, they burned a ton of goodwill after that controversy last year. And then the CEO left. And then this is also not a very good year for gaming in terms of revenues. I mean, we can have a couple of games pop off, but this is one of the first years in a very long time where it looks as though year over year spending on gaming will drop. Which part of it is last year was really, really good. But the other part of it is that the economy's tough and people don't really want to just spend $70 on random games all the time, you know? Like, people are much more picky now, as I think they should be. But it's causing, I think, some hesitancy. Fearless Wolf, thank you. Money talks, bullshit walks. This is why you got to have proper regulation for loot boxes, mobile gaming ads, pre-orders, etc. Problem is politicians don't understand it, and this is why it's a mess. Yeah, I mean, that's why, like, for me, I think that there should be some sort of regulatory protection for digital purchases, like for people who bought The Crew. I think these multi-billion-dollar companies should be able to put a team of 20 people on a project to add like peer-to-peer to these online games. Do that. Just do that. Easy peasy. Nice lemon squeezy. Just do that. People don't have to worry about the servers being shut down. They can always play the game indefinitely, even after the servers are shut down, just peer-to-peer. I think there should be regulatory protections where, like, if you don't do that, the game can be fully refunded and you're obligated to do that. Something like that. I think that that's reasonable, but unfortunately, we just, like, it's all 70 and 80-year-old people that are making the decisions. So, like, how are you going to make any change? Like, you're just not. And if they do try to change something, like, do you really want your grandma and grandpa regulating your hobby? Because they don't have any idea what's going on anyways, much less with gaming. So, and I love my grandparents, but I wouldn't want them deciding how my games work or what can and can't happen in games. They probably would do a really bad job. So you kind of need gamers to make those decisions. But the thing is, not many gamers want to go into politics. Like, they want to be streamers or YouTubers or whatever else. So we're just in a weird spot. And the only way that you could normally get things done otherwise is by lobbying politicians, and nobody really wants to do that either. Like, the only people that can afford that are like EA or Activision, and so of course they grease some palms and make sure that things don't get regulated to their detriment. But anyway, I mean, we can touch on this. So the Fallout 4 news segment. The Fallout 4 next gen update just launched. How many of you guys in chat have tried it? Have any of you guys in chat tried it? I did the video yesterday on it, and I mean, honestly, I can't tell much that has changed. Like, on Xbox, at least when I was trying it, it seemed to run better than it used to. On PC, my game runs worse significantly. Part of that's because it disabled and broke mods that improve performance and stuff. But all told, like, it seems to have just generally made things worse. But nonetheless, people are still trying it and playing it, and are jumping into it. And it started, you know, a broader conversation about what's happening with the state of the game and everything. But I actually, to his credit, I was surprised to see this. JuiceHead, the one and only JuiceHead, actually said the following, quote, "I don't think the state that Bethesda Game Studios released the Fallout 4 Next Gen update in is okay. It's a video game, so I normally don't get too worked up over things, but some of the additions from this one do feel pretty rough." Then he has some examples. "The promised ultra-wide implementation completely stretches out the HUD. I simply cannot believe this was signed off on. Mods fixed this years ago without stretching out the HUD." I mean, it literally is just, they took the screen and then just stretched the UI. It's unbelievable. Like, my built-in flawless ultra wide or whatever the app is called, I have it right here. Yeah, flawless widescreen. It fixed this already. Like, it already had this. I don't know why they couldn't figure this out, but they signed off on this. Fallout 4 also became Steam Deck verified. The only change was made, the only change made was removing the Fallout 4 launcher, which is this like separate window that pops up. But the settings from the launcher weren't moved to in the game. So now you can't change the game's visual settings on Steam Deck without editing launch variables within the Steam Deck itself. Unbelievable. On Xbox, one of the 3 DLCs shipped without meshes for the new weapons. This DLC is a weapon pack and largely unusable right now. On PC, many players, including me, cannot progress the very first quest of the Workshop DLC. Many PC users are now unable to unlock their frame rate with the eye present interval INI setting. Instead, they're locked to 48 FPS. Many new players who buy Fallout 4 with the next gen update will immediately need to find a guide to play at 60 FPS. But existing guides are also now outdated. So somehow they broke that too. While this update did bring some critical bug fixes, like 0 kilobytes on PlayStation, many more bugs were left unfixed, most notably the weapon debris bug, where shooting something can cause your game to crash to desktop or lag immensely from the debris that flies out. The mod fix has 400,000 downloads. And just, it fixes this. And it launched years ago. Or was original upload, November of 2020. Unbelievable. The update brings some incredible performance improvements to Fallout 4 on consoles, and the new DLCs are great additions in my opinion. Thousands of players are having a way better time thanks to this update, but I think the state of some of these changes are not okay. I was excited to test the new update on an ultra-wide, but this HUD just feels bad. It feels like Bethesda didn't really care and just pushed it out as is, which honestly killed my excitement. I mean, honestly, that's freaking hilarious that they thought that was okay. Dude, this is one of those moments where I'm like, did anybody test it? Did anybody try it and test it? Like, it's amazing. It's stunning. And this is why, like, I did that TikTok recently in YouTube Short that's actually done pretty well, but basically I was just saying, I don't know why people keep bringing Bethesda Game Studios up in conversations of like the best developers in the industry. I think maybe in 2011, like 10, 15 years ago. Sure. Now, how do you argue that these guys are like top tier of the industry? I don't know how you do it. I don't think you can without kind of making a fool of yourself, because this type of stuff they do casually, and it's just amazing to me. Like, this is embarrassing. They should be ashamed. I know it's a free update, and you get out of jail, you get kind of an get out of jail free card whenever you do a free update, because people are like, well, you can't be that upset about it because it's free. But they're making the game worse. Almost a decade after launch, they're making the game worse. Like, they just broke the unlockable frame rate fix. They didn't fix this thing, but they broke the mod that fixes it. It's unreal. I don't know what happened with this one, but I think it was a miss, and I hope they do better in the future. These are just some of my thoughts. Maybe it was how lazy some of this felt because I love Fallout 4, but this one bothered me a bit more than usual. It seriously is like, it's like Bethesda fans are under some sort of hypnosis, and then things like this kind of shake them awake in the simulation. You know, it's like when Neo sees a black cat or something, and it's like, wait, this is all part of the simulation, you know? It's like that. It's like that. A lot of people just stick their head back in the dirt and try to ignore it. But this is what happens when people are like hyped for studios or for games or whatever else. It's like that guy that we saw on launch day for Suicide Squad. And he was saying anybody who was upset about early access, like where you pay more for early access to a game, it's like, just admit you're broke, loser. And then we went over to his stream and he was just sitting there and you could see his brain was trying to figure out how to explain away why the game was so broken. He paid for early access and spent like 10 hours sitting there unable to play the game that he paid extra to play early. Because he couldn't admit that he had made a mistake. He had to come up with some excuse for it, but just couldn't think of anything. And it was delightful, honestly. Whenever somebody calls somebody a brokey, unironically, I think they deserve to have their game locked at that point. But again, to his credit, JuiceHead has a community primarily of Bethesda fans, and to come out and be critical of a big triumphant update for a Bethesda game takes some cojones, and I'll give him credit for that, because in my testing yesterday, where we just filmed a quick little video, I didn't think it was like that bad. At least, you know, my expectations for Bethesda are shockingly low. So when they launch an update and the game still boots, I'm like, wow, good job. I have the same expectations of like a middle schooler who's coding with one hand and only 3 fingers. I'm like, wow, you did that thing. Wow, good job. That's kind of where I'm at. So for me, I was like, it runs. Yes, it broke all my mods. Yes, it still has some bugs and stuff. Yes, it's kind of clunky, but it's a thing. But I think if people were expecting this to be even more, like, you're probably very disappointed. I saw some people mentioning in comment sections of some of the videos we posted on Luke Stevens Live in the last week covering this. People were like, well, I expect this to be more like a Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 situation. I think they're really going to crank everything and show people why this is the definitive Fallout game. I'm like, bro, this is what happens. Hype makes you stupid. That's what that is. Like, you're just lying to yourself. And those people that are playing this today are now quite upset. Was your performance worse before the update? On console, it was worse before the update. So the update on console made it more stable, but it broke many mods. So some people were trying to use mods on Xbox after the update. It broke most of them. On PC, the game runs worse after the update on PC. But part of that is because I had mods and stuff for improved performance that broke when they did this update. So if I had a fix for like uncapped frame rates, or if I had a fix for more stable frame rate, or for bug fixes or all that, those mods broke when they did this. So the game runs worse for me. But if you were a player who had a totally unmodded version of Fallout 4 or something, then maybe it's better for you. I don't know. But I think if you're still playing Fallout 4 in 2024 on PC, you're probably modding it a little bit. There's a problem for the launch on Steam for Fallout 3. Just see the reviews. Hasn't that been there forever though? Or is it new? I don't know. Hey, Luke, do you think that if game devs had a union, we would see better games? I mean, I'd like to think so. The thing would be that it would, without a doubt, it would. The reason why I hesitate is because unions would, rightly so, put in restrictions for like overtime and crunch and stuff. And by putting those restrictions in so that devs couldn't, or publishers couldn't force them to do that, it would make games take longer to make. And when games take longer to make, they're more expensive to make. And unions would also negotiate higher pay and stuff like that. So games would become more expensive to make. And every other time in the gaming industry, when we've seen games become more expensive, we see games get more monetized and more greedy and more penny pinching. And we start to see more and more battle passes and live service games. So I wouldn't be surprised if it would lead to a lot of game development leaving, like the US. If unions were in the US, I think you'd see a lot of US based studios starting to find other ways to monetize more, and then you'd see a lot of bigger studios like Ubisoft or EA or Take-Two. They'd probably largely pull out of the US. That would be my guess. So it's not I mean, I think it would help the employees have better quality of life and better work-life balance and stuff like that, most likely. But as for like higher quality games or games that are more pro-consumer and stuff, I don't think that that's a given, unfortunately. But you could argue, yeah, you could argue a better work environment produces better productivity. That is true. And there is some research that's shown that, you know, where like they did some testing of shorter work weeks where they work like 4 days in a week instead of 5 days in a week. And some companies, depending on the industry, found higher productivity levels. So I think there is an argument to be made for that, and it is possible you'd have higher productivity in that sense. But my guess would be executives would just look at it and be like, no, we're not giving you a day off. No, we're not going to do. If we're not able to work you an extra 3 hours a day, you're going to make that up. The game's going to take an extra 6 months to make, and we're going to have to come up with that money somehow. And either they'll do that by cutting wages, which the unions wouldn't really put up with. So in that case, you have to find other ways of either just using contractors and not giving anybody any sort of full-time position. Or, you know, if the union even fights that, you would eventually, I think, just see a lot of studios shutting down. Like, you would just see everybody pull out. These companies spend billions to go and put a studio in Paris or something instead. You know, you'd lose some talent, but I think for them it would end up being cheaper. Yeah. My company only works 4.5 days and it's great. Yeah, I mean, it's something I found with my team, with all the stuff we do. We pump out a lot of content. And for me, I've noticed, like, if I try to be very strict with like, okay, we're going to work 9 to 5, we're going to do this, this, and this, like, we aren't as productive as when it's like, oh, we'll just get it done when we need to do. And, you know, we'll just work our butts off. And I'm a firm believer that happy work is better work. That's my philosophy. So if somebody needs more personal time to be happy, let's do that. If somebody needs more money to be happy, let's figure that out. But I'm a firm believer, happy work is better work. In the words of Gustavo Fring, I do not believe fear to be an adequate motivator. I think that that's true. Fear of firing or fear of peer pressure for not working late, I don't think that that's a good way to motivate people. So we won't be seeing a Jacob Stevens strike. Jacob comes in chat. Actually. Okay, but beyond this, I feel like we should mention this. So there were a couple, let's see. So Paul Tassi tweeted this out, just the player numbers. You can see Fallout 4 is right up there with Helldivers 2 on Steam. People are playing it. People are having a good time, which is great. Phil Spencer screaming on the phone to get someone to make a new Fallout game sooner than a decade from now. I have to imagine that the calls have been made, that somebody's talking about it. Because like at this point, again, we're probably about a decade out from Fallout 5 coming from Bethesda. Realistically, the timelines work out roughly in that time frame. So if we're looking at that and we're saying a decade, Phil Spencer, Phil freaking Spencer surely is looking at it and going, okay, we have this amazing franchise that people are loving, but we have nothing planned. What should we do? We have another few seasons at least of the Fallout show on Amazon Prime to continue capitalizing on this. Can we get like something more than a Fallout 3 remaster? Because I know that people are like, well, Luke, they got a Fallout 3 remaster coming. That's going to be super, super cool, right? That's going to be awesome. We should all be super stoked on that. Okay. But let me counter with a little example. If you think that Bethesda Game Studios is going to do a great job with the Fallout 3 remaster, how do you explain like this stuff? This was their big triumphant update for Fallout 4 after the show, which breaks tons of stuff, doesn't fix other stuff that's been fixed by modders for years, breaks the UI. Like, it makes you wonder, okay, is this really just the best that they can do? Or do they just not care? Like, do they really just not care? And for me, I'm like, there seems to be some sort of quality approval discrepancy where the level of quality that the executives that sign off on this stuff, the level that they're able to put up with is so much, they're able to put up with so much more crap than their own fan base. It's amazing. Like, if I saw this, if I was working at Bethesda and they brought me this when I boot up the game in ultra wide to test it, I'm like, are you kidding? The fact that you thought this was acceptable is unacceptable. Like, I've told you guys the story about this one time I hired a company. This was a couple years ago. I hired a company to cut like TikToks and stuff for me. And I've hired a handful of them before we landed on Trevor, the guy that does it for me now, who's amazing and does incredible work. But these companies I'd hired, they would do like the most insane stuff where they would just flood it with sound effects and like clip art, and it didn't even make sense. I'm pretty sure, and this sounds bad, but I'm pretty sure because the editors' names would pop up on the edits. It'd be like, this video was edited by whatever. They were all Indian names, and the company was based, I thought, in California. It looks like they were maybe housed in California, but all the editors were in India, like Fiverr editors and stuff. And I don't think they spoke English because they would cut clips that made no sense. And they'd cut sentences like 3 words into the sentence and then stitch other sentences to it in a way that just didn't make any sense at all. Like, it really was baffling. And when I saw that, it was like this. It was like somebody brought me this. And I saw the first one, and I called the contact, the lady I had for a contact. And I sent her the thing they had sent me. Because what it was it was a horizontal video that had been cropped into a vertical form factor. So it was a little rectangle with huge black bars on the top and bottom. And then they had re-exported that for me for review back into a widescreen format. So then there were the black bars on the side. So the actual video for the TikTok was like this tiny little rectangle in the middle of the frame surrounded by black bars. It was ridiculously bad. And I sent the link to that I had gotten for approval. I sent it to this lady and I was like, is this the quality that I can expect from you guys? This is unacceptable. This is not a little mistake. This is not an oopsie. This is pre-amateur work. Like, this is somebody who's just figured out how to export a video on Premiere Pro. Like, this is not even close to where it needs to be. And the fact that you let this get to me, your paying client, shows me your judgment is way out of whack. And so I fired them. I fired the whole company, and that's just what it was. I don't know if they're still doing their operations. I would highly doubt it, considering the quality of the work. But I had a couple of other things like that, where I tried editors before I had Jacob cutting all my stuff together. And I had some companies that had pretty impressive resumes cutting some of my videos together, and they also had quality that was all over the place. It's just all over the place. It was amazing to me. But that's the thing, is like, if you have higher standards, you would see this and not put up with it. You'd be like, this is insane. No, if I was making a game and somebody brought this to me, I would probably like think they were joking if they pitched this to me as like a finished product. Cause like, if you can't see, it's like clipping through, the numbers are clipping through because the UI is breaking. They thought this was ready. If somebody brought this to me and was like, yep, we're launch ready, they probably would not have a job for long. Because if you thought this was acceptable, I would hate to see what you think is unacceptable. You know, I don't want to see that. So people are like, well, we're getting a Fallout 3 remaster. With this group, these guys are doing it. But it'll probably be pretty good. Sure about that? You sure about that? Are you sure about that? I wouldn't be. I really would not be sure about that. So I have zero confidence in them figuring out anything. Like, I think it's going to be a disaster. So that brings up the question, who else does it? I mean, I think that Phil realistically should approach somebody for a remake of, I mean, New Vegas, I think is the layup, especially with what happens with the show. No spoilers, but I think New Vegas is going to be topical and pertinent when season 2 drops. So it just makes too much sense. Just give it to somebody who can just do a remake. Whether that's Obsidian. Obsidian has their hands full. They're doing Avowed and the Outer Worlds 2. So they've got their hands full, but give it to somebody, some team, and let them remake it. It just makes too much sense. And I mean, imagine this summer if Phil gets up on stage and it's like, and we heard you. Sit down, Todd. We heard you. And he's like, but Phil.
16 times the detail.
No, Todd, sit down. Your time has ended for now. We have something to show you. We have one more thing. And then they play the trailer and it's just like a splash screen of the Fallout New Vegas like logo reveal. And it just says remake under it. People would lose their minds. People would be like, well, Xbox wins the summer shows. Like, everybody would lose their minds. It'd be great. But I don't think that that's going to happen. Larian Fallout would be crazy. I mean, so funnily enough, I just saw something about this. What was it? What's the channel name? It's like XP level 3, I think. I think this is it. He's a creator that does Fallout stuff, or that does D&D stuff. But one of the fascinating things he did was he created his own like Fallout RPG system for tabletop. And I'm trying to remember which video it was where he talked about it. But it was like really cool because the whole thing was built around action points, just like in Fallout. So if you want to perform an attack with certain weapons, it takes more action points than others. Movement takes action points. So you kind of have a broader currency of action points and you have to use them. I think this is Descendant. Yeah, they stream a bunch of D&D type stuff as well, but I don't know. I know they were doing a campaign of a Fallout RPG for a while. I don't know if they're still doing it or not. Even Fallout 0. But you can see it's like he created an actual D&D system, basically a kind of an amalgamation of 5e D&D with Fallout core mechanics and stuff, and got it working, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I think there are ways that a company like Larian could do it for a CRPG, refreshing the old school formula into a more modern formula. I think people would enjoy it. It would take effort though. And I don't think that Larian necessarily wants to get tied up in another IP. I mean, I think they like having their own IP that they can do whatever they want with, you know? How long do you think it'll take for Fallout London to fix their mod? It's my understanding is it's not Fallout London, it's the script extender team. So it's the script extender team has to fix their mod, and then Fallout London should, in theory, just work. But I don't think so. I don't think it's them. Elitist Edits, thank you for the 5. In Exile could do it also, since Brian Fargo was the CEO of Interplay and involved with the original Fallout also after they finished Clockwork. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the other team, In Exile, they have ties back to the original Fallout games, of course. And they're currently working on this, which you might remember from like last year, I think is when they showed this off, maybe a year and a half ago at the Game Awards, or maybe it was this Game Awards. I don't know. It's very Outer Worlds meets BioShock is the vibe I'm getting, but it seems really interesting, and they're working on this. And I mean, imagine if they announced that this team with ties back to the original Fallout stuff, if they were working on a remake of Fallout New Vegas with these tools. I mean, I'd be down for that. I mean, this is pretty good.
I have built. There is nowhere in space or time where I will not destroy you. Oh no. What did I do?
Any last words before my friend puts one in your scalp?
Don't get hyped. Don't get hyped. Don't get hyped. No, I think it looks great. I think it looks really good. And I mean, this is another Xbox Game Studios title. They're doing this, and then they're doing something else. But like, here's the thing. Phil Spencer is the head honcho of all of this. If he wants to call up Todd and say, Todd, send me one of those nice booty pics I like, Todd has to do it. If he calls, okay, he doesn't technically have to, but he probably would, because they seem tight. But if he calls the executives over at Clockwork Revolution's developer In Exile, and he says, guys, you're doing a New Vegas remake, and you're going to like it. They're going to be like, yes, puppy. Yes, puppy. And they're going to do it. And honestly, I think any studio would probably be stoked to work on a Fallout game at this point. You know, I really do think so. I think everybody would be stoked to work on it. Who wouldn't be? Who, other than Bethesda? Bethesda at this point is probably like, no, we want to do Starfield because that's our we're so proud of it. I don't know. They're probably burnt out on Starfield after like a decade of working on it. But yeah, I agree. In Exile would be another easy choice, I think. I think that would be another easy choice. So my first choice, actually, maybe hot take. After seeing the Clockwork Revolution trailer again, and after watching the Avowed trailer and all that, I think my first choice for a Fallout New Vegas spinoff or a Fallout spinoff or something might be In Exile, because they seem to have some really unique ideas and stuff. Obsidian just has their hands so full right now. I think if they were to do it, it wouldn't be done until like 2030. You know? Beyond that, I mean, there's other studios they have access to that could probably do a decent job, but it's just, they've got to do something, right? But then again, we've said the same thing with like a Bloodborne remake or remaster. We're like, it would print money, just do it. And the fact they haven't done it yet makes you really wonder, okay, is there something else going on? Is there a reason why they haven't done it yet? Because it makes too much sense. And in this case, it really makes too much sense. The other option, and this is something we mentioned with Joe Raptor on the podcast, it's possible that they really didn't think that the Fallout show would be that successful, which is kind of funny. But that's a real possibility, because you see that they didn't really have anything else lined up. We know they've been working on like a Fallout 3 remaster, but that's somewhere in the future. We know that they were working on this next gen update that has basically very little by way of major improvements. And even then it breaks other stuff, and it's taken them months and months and months to get out. it makes me really wonder if this next gen update was assigned to like a team of 5 newbies, like interns that they got for free, and they just had them work on it for like until it was done, and it was their pet project, and they didn't even look at it before they put it out. I don't know. Yeah, did you see Todd Howard's reaction when he found out IGN gave the show a 9? Yeah, I think he needed a win. He's been beat up pretty hard. I think it's mostly deserved and self-inflicted at this point, but yeah, I saw his reaction. It was wholesome because he was like, "Aw." It's like, yeah, isn't it funny when you give your IP that people love to people who really know what they're doing? They do a great job and people love it. Isn't that weird? Isn't that silly? It's odd. Yeah, when did they first announce the next gen update? Fallout 4 next gen update announced. It was announced back in 2022. Wow. It was announced in 2022. That's wild, dude. So this was in the works for 2 years? Dude, what? This stuff was in the works for 2 years. Unbelievable. But yeah, I'm sure the Fallout 3 remaster is going to be really good, guys. I'm sure it's going to be so good. This is just another one of those examples with modern gaming where I'm like, what were they doing all that time? Like, were they just getting paid and doing absolutely nothing? It's like with obligatory stream mention of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where you're like, they were working on this particular iteration of this game for 7 years. And they got 2.5 hours of content that they repeated for 10 hours. And like, that's it. And then they just repeat all of the boss fights for all of the seasonal updates and everything. It's like, what have you been doing? It's unbelievable. It's crazy. It's crazy. And with this, like, this stuff was in the works for 2 years. Modders could fix this stuff way faster, and they probably will. Modders will go back in and fix all of this stuff that they broke within a week or two. Meanwhile, Bethesda Game Studios can't figure it out. It's just shocking. It's and again, I don't know why anybody puts up with it. I'm really proud of JuiceHead. Shout out JuiceHead for stepping up and calling it out. Because I don't know why their fans tolerate it. My expectations for Bethesda are always rock bottom, but for some reason people keep going back and like, well, they'll do a good job, but yeah, for real. I think this is a classic example of a company becoming too big, too much middle management, therefore egos of people in power. Devs can't express creativity and effort. Well, and there was a really interesting talk that one of you guys linked in a stream a little while back. It was the CDPR, I think it was GDC 2024, I want to say. Yeah, changing the game, a leader's perspective. And basically this,
some memory management,
this talk's really interesting. It's all about how he as the game director for Phantom Liberty worked to figure out what went wrong with the first round of Cyberpunk. And basically what it was they had everything too segmented away. So they had the designers of gameplay over here, they had the quester designers over here, they had the art teams over there, the programmers over there, and there wasn't a lot of cross work and cross functionality. And just listen to this, because this is really interesting.
Now, previously, we had it set up where it's like you got, team of quest designers, team of level designers, team of environment artists, and they worked in their groups with their lead or their director. And like a quest designer might be like, okay, we need in this area a bar for this scene. So I request it to concept, I request it to environment art, level design, and it goes through like Jira and stuff like that. Now, on a smaller teams, this can maybe work when you have the communication, everyone's kind of close. But as you are bigger and bigger, you're kind of separated. And by the time that bar comes around and the cinematic designer wants to work with it, there's not enough room between the stools for the staging, right? I can't do this thing I wanted to do with the bartender kind of lifting the leaf or jumping over, because all of this, didn't follow in the JIRA as it came around. So instead, let's organize the teams. So we set up teams, content and feature teams with cross-discipline together, to work together and kind of own areas and pieces of content and features. Now, I'm not gonna like rose-colored glasses as in like, and that's it, and then everything was solved. No, there's nuance and tricks. For example, you go from one kind of group that's doing one quest and another, and is Songbird the same? Is she cocky here, and is she softer here? Is the gameplay, too difficult here, too hard here? So everyone has sort of, and then some of the people on the team might be introverts versus extroverts, and so some of the disciplines might get more weight than others in different things that they were working on. So, of course, how do you manage this? Well, okay, the game director, right? Got to get in there and make sure that, the voices are heard if someone's an introvert. If the writer isn't speaking up and the level designer is, sort of tease it out. If the sort of arc of the character, or we want to set up Songbird to look more empathetic towards the beginning. So spoilers, by the way. If that
yeah, me accidentally spoils it. Basically, what they had done is that they had each team that was just very compartmentalized and specifically did one thing. And like he mentioned, you would have one team that would design like the bar scene, and they set it up, they model it, they get everything nice and ready. And then it passes over to the cinematics team, and they're going to design and prepare a cutscene that takes place there. But because there wasn't a lot of communication or things got missed, the stools aren't placed right for the cutscene. So they have to send it all the way back to the beginning, and then it gets changed and altered, and then it gets back to the cinematic team and they can do stuff. So you end up with a lot of time wasted. You end up with things that aren't really as good as they could have been, because you just eventually have to say, screw it, we'll just figure it out. So you wanted this cool cutscene where they're sitting on the stools and everybody's talking, maybe moving around the space. Can't do that anymore. We're just going to say, screw it. So everybody's just going to stand there, and so you get a game that's worse because of the basically poor organization. And what they did, and I encourage you to go watch this entire talk, you can see the title up here, because it's really interesting. But basically what they did is they just created cross-discipline teams where you'd have a member of the writing staff, you'd have a gameplay designer, you'd have a programmer, you'd have a producer, you'd have a member of each kind of talent working on these strike teams, and then these strike teams would handle certain scenes or certain beats in the story. Maybe for a couple of sequences that are bigger, like maybe the party at the top of the tower, the kind of casino space in Phantom Liberty. Maybe that's done by a collection of 3 or 4 of these strike teams, and they work closer together. But by doing this, you create ownership. And this is one thing he talked a lot about, was trusting your devs to have ownership of their thing. He's like, people don't like doing bad work. People want to do good work. But often if they don't feel like they own a part of the project, it's not their fault if it's bad, and they're also not empowered to take the extra steps to improve it even beyond everything else. So what they did is they would basically set this team and say, okay, you're in charge of this sequence where, let's say if this were applied to, I don't know, just like Phantom Liberty, it's the little bombed out apartment space, basically, where you and the president hang out after, the crash and everything. And there's some quieter moments, story beats and cutscenes that play out there, but that's this team's, they own that. That's their space. They own that part of the game, that chunk. So they're going to pour their heart and souls in it, because if that part is bad, it's their fault. And they work their butts off and they own it. And they make it the best that they possibly can. All the cutscenes, all the sequences, they pour their heart and soul into it because they own it. They're not moving from one scene and then they're like, okay, well, we did all of the design work for the models there and we placed everything. So now we're going to move over to this scene and then this scene and then this scene and then this scene. It's just, I think, a more practical way of developing. And I've heard, and I've mentioned this a few times, but I've spoken to a handful of devs that have worked currently and in the past at Bethesda Game Studios. And everything I've heard is that morale is really low. Things are very compartmentalized. So one hand doesn't know what the other is doing. And it basically sounds exactly like pre-revamp CDPR or Cyberpunk 2077 CDPR, where you have one team that's trying to do stuff over here, but they don't know how this is going to affect the gameplay or how this is going to affect cinematics or this or that. And it kind of explains why you end up with a game like Starfield, for example, where there's just a lot of features that are not fleshed out. There's things they could have done in kind of a cool way that just don't go anywhere because they didn't talk about it. They didn't brainstorm how you could use, okay, this like weird space force ability to zero out the gravity. We could use that for gameplay. So like you're in a boss fight and maybe the boss is super, super heavy and tanky, but if you remove the weight and you make them float, then they just start spinning and freaking out. So that's like the one weakness. And then we could use that to tie all of this in. You don't really have much like that in Starfield. You have a couple instances, but not much at all. And it's because there's no design documentation and there's no broader work between the teams. And I think that this is perhaps how you explain something like this next gen update taking 2 years to put together, and then it comes out and it's laughably bad. So yeah. But again, is anyone really that surprised? No. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Real quick, shout out to the super chats. Let's see. Mellow Beta, thank you for the 2. I hope you're well. I am. Any thoughts on Greedfall 2? I mean, I'm interested in it. The first one was like the classic AA kind of RPG. Fits a niche, and it's always good to see. And the more of those we get, the better. I think the more indie games or AA games we get, the better. Elitist Edits, thank you for the 5 as well. In Exile could do it since Brian Fargo. Oh yeah, I did read that one, and I do agree. They would be great. And then Epic Destroyer, thank you for the 2. Why doesn't BGS hire their modding community? I mean, there's maybe a couple pieces. For one, it's not a given that those people necessarily want to be hired. Like say there was a modder that put together something for like fixing the widescreen support. And they're like, okay, we want to hire that person, or that we want to pay for the rights of that mod or whatever to do it as an official update. Like they could do that, or they could just say, screw it, we'll just leave the mod up and people that care can go get the mod. I really think that that's what a lot of BGS's stuff is that they're just like, the mods are out there. If people want it, they can get it. It's just it's not our problem right now. You know, it's just, in my view, laziness. Because you'd think they would work to make the game the best they possibly can. But when you see them breaking UI, when you see them breaking things all over the place just to do a next gen update that doesn't really change much of anything, it's like, how do you explain that other than that they just don't care? Like, how else do you explain that? Yeah, the London boys definitely want to get hired. Well, the London boys, not to be confused with the Island boys. Can you imagine if the Island boys were modders for Starfield? Well, the Fallout London team, they haven't even been acknowledged by Bethesda. Bethesda didn't even, like, they've never communicated with them, never said anything. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. They probably think it's a smart business decision. There's weird stuff with BGS where there's like an odd sort of, not jealousy, but like bitterness. And if you've ever seen like New Vegas brought up to the team over at BGS, the executives, you know what I mean? If you ever hear people talking about like how bad the games are before mods, like they always get in this weird attitude and they say, we love our modders, we love that, we love the modding community, whatever else. But their attitudes generally just seem to be of like, the best way I can describe it is it's like the older brother whose younger brother is really successful. And when the older brother comes home from, you know, for the holidays or whatever, comes and visits, and all anybody wants to talk about is the younger brother who's doing really, really well. It's that weird, like, screw you guys. I don't need this. I'm my own man. I think that's what Bethesda's like. They're like, I'm my own developer. Yeah, contempt almost. Yeah, it's just, there's an odd culture about it. So it's like, yeah, we're not going to hire the modders to do it because we can do it better ourselves. And then they do this. Have you played the Begin Again mod for Fallout 3 in New Vegas? IGN covered it as the best way to play, and I'm trying to install it. It's so complicated. Dude, so many of those things are freakishly complicated to get going. And it might not, I don't know. The script extender should be fine on 3 in New Vegas, but I've seen the videos for the Begin Again mod. I don't think I've ever installed it myself. Probably because I tried and it was also quite difficult. Okay, we have another story from VGC on Fallout, but let's take a quick little break of Fallout and talk about something else that's dead and dying, which is a story from Insider Gaming. News segment. Here we go. You ready? Surprising probably no one. Watch Dogs series, as a series, is dead and buried. It has been claimed. In a new post on Twitter, known leaker Jonathan has claimed that they believe the Watch Dogs series is, quote, dead and buried, possibly due to the poor performance of Legion. Though loosely translated, the post appears to suggest that Legion's failure compromised, quote, a fairly original battle royale. While there have been no official updates on the series' future regarding new games last month, new reports revealed that Watch Dogs has a movie adaptation that's in the works from New Regency. And despite the perception of the series, Ubisoft's AAA games frequently sell just fine. The Watch Dogs series had solid performance for the first 2 games. The original hit 10 million copies sold in 2014. Watch Dogs 2 in 2016 sold 10 million by March of 2020. A lot of those are on sale, though. I mean, it's not like they're selling at full price, but still, pretty good. That's why people are always like, how is Ubisoft still around? Everybody hates Ubisoft. It's like, bro, Ubisoft, they've got so many people that buy their games in the more like casual side of it. There's a lot of people that are not watching streamers talk about video games on a Friday afternoon that are buying these games. Like, they're very, very popular. Very, very popular. I mean, 10 million copies is crazy. An old report from VG Charts adds that Watch Dogs Legion managed to sell 1.9 million digital units in just 3 days. The article sourced super data for the sales information in the UK. The game made up the top 20 PlayStation 5 titles in January of 2023. I thought Watch Dogs Legion was like really cool, but it was kind of like a game with a feature in search of a gameplay loop. Like the idea that you could recruit any NPC in the city and they could just come in and be a protagonist in the story. That's super cool. And the tech involved with that is crazy complicated. And it is a marvel of coding and design. But is it fun? That's the bigger question. And I think that's the question that they didn't really answer before they started making the game. And so you just ended up with a project that was like, okay, that's cool, but like, why though? And that's kind of all that Watch Dogs Legion was. However, Watch Dogs Legion received mixed reviews from the fan base. On Metacritic, Legion's user rating stands at 6.2, a steep drop from Watch Dogs 2's at 7.7. Since a Watch Dogs movie is in the works, Ubisoft might still try to bank it on the mainstream appeal to continue the game series in some way. Yeah, some mobile games. Ubisoft is yet to comment on the future of the Watch Dogs series. Which, I mean, none of this is that shocking. We know that Watch Dogs has not really been a priority for them since Legion. It just didn't really connect with anybody. And funnily enough, Joe Raptor actually tweeted out in April 29th of 2022. So just about 2 years ago. He said, quote, with almost all big names working on Watch Dogs gone from Ubisoft, Legion not selling well, and support ending sooner than expected, you have to wonder, is there a future for the series? We go in depth and it's not looking good. And he did this whole video breaking it down, which I encourage you to watch. But now he's like looking back at it. Yep, sure enough, it seems to be dead. I think Jor called it 2 years ago. Exactly right. a lot of the head honchos that were tied to the Watch Dogs franchise left, founded their own studios or went to work at other studios. And now there just doesn't seem to be much happening with it, unfortunately. He says, in 2022, it was already clear that there was no future for the series, at least for the time being. Ubisoft's focus right now is to install their biggest franchises as huge live service platforms, AC, Assassin's Creed, of course, Far Cry, Ghost Recon Division, and Rainbow Six. After that, they may return to the series with probably a full reboot. Maybe if the movie is good, it will give them a change of heart as well. Yeah, it just seems like at this point, they can't really justify trying to make a GTA light open world game and have it sell okay. Like, they need it to sell very well. And it's like I've broken down a few times on stream in the last few weeks where we've looked at like how expensive these games are to make and how many copies they need to sell. And it's like at full price, a game like Watch Dogs Legion probably needs to sell somewhere between 5 and 8 million copies to break even at full price. A lot of those copies are going to be on sale, so it's probably closer to like 10 million copies to break even, which is why games like Watch Dogs 1 and Watch Dogs 2 could turn a profit. But in the modern day, I just don't think they can do it. So they're not doing it. I jokingly said mobile games, which is half serious because they probably still do a mobile game. Oh, excuse me. They probably do something like that. That's cheaper to do, but yeah. Watch Dogs is probably dead. Probably dead. Sorry everybody. Sorry to disappoint. Sorry. JP Rake, thank you for 3 months of support over on Twitch. Someone with Prime. Appreciate you, my friend. 3 months in a row. I'm a sub now. Damn right you are. You're on your way. You're on your way to 4. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. So yeah. I mean, nobody's that shocked, but it is what it is. One other cool thing I came across. I'll show you this. New segment. This is just kind of cool. So, Obi Vermeij, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Either way, a developer, an old school game dev and stuff, has some experience with something you might know. Mentions, there was no way we could fit the whole map of GTA 3 in PlayStation 2 memory. Streaming involves loading models from the DVD as the player moves around, and this was the hardest technical challenge during the development of GTA 3, and was coded by Adam Fowler. The closer models physically are on the DVD, the faster they're loaded, and this is because the DVD needs to accelerate or decelerate as the head moves to a different track. Adam tried to place models that were closer together in the city, also closer together on the DVD. He experimented with repeating commonly used files. Even after placing models on the DVD efficiently, it was still not fast enough. Players would see the low detailed versions of buildings, and sometimes the road was even missing, which is what this is. And this is kind of the early stages of modern 3D open world game development. And these guys were kind of the pioneers that tried to figure out how to get this working, because it's quite difficult. I mean, back in the day when things were running off of DVDs or like little CDs that were in your PS2, for example, all of these little bitty things had to be considered. People were wondering, for example, with Warzone when it launched on the PS4 and Xbox One and everything, people are like, how on earth is this like 100 gigabytes? How on earth is this game so much? And part of it is because when you're running something off of a hard drive or a disk or whatever else, in this case, hard drives, accessing the data takes physical movements of the head and the spinning of the disk. Like, it takes time. And so what a lot of games do is that they'll copy files across the folder structure of the hard drive, or of the game files within the hard drive, and then it will access those faster. So if you're playing Warzone and you're in this area of the map in Verdansk, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna run to this side of the map. Well, by the time you get over to that side of the map, it streamed a lot of data. But maybe you get over here and there's some sort of, there's rocks or there's some sort of texture they need access to. They could have the engine for the game go all the way back over to this portion of the game's file structure and access the texture it needs and then go back. Or maybe it's all centralized over here. It grabs that and comes back. Or they just copy it. And so everything is where it needs to be. It's almost like in a kitchen if you're making, you know, if you've ever worked in a restaurant or something. And you have different stations for stuff. You have the salad station over there, and then you get your meat station, or you got a soup station, whatever. And you might have duplicates of stuff. You might have bacon bits in the soup station, and then also over at the salad station to make all of this stuff. And you're like, why do you have it in two places? That's kind of a waste of space. But it's not actually a waste of space. It's actually more efficient, because then you don't have to walk all the way across to grab bacon bits whenever you need them. It's always right in front of you. I have a meat station in my kitchen. I have a meat station everywhere I go. Everywhere. Doesn't matter. At some point, we couldn't speed the streaming up any further. We had no option but to slow the player down. This actually has to do with my expectations for why Starfield, for example, doesn't have vehicles, doesn't have on-planet transportation with like rovers and stuff like that. I think all of this is tied to the fact that the creation engine is not very good at streaming data quickly. The like a great example of an engine that's really good at streaming data would be like Anvil, or of course Take-Two's Rage engine is fantastic and is very, very good at it. Or probably the best one we've seen recently would be from the team over putting together Star Citizen, where shortly after Starfield came out, they dropped this, and it's known as the Star Engine. And they just casually show how like the camera is able to sweep through environments with NPCs and waterfalls and all this. And then the camera, whoops, I hit 0. But then the camera can sweep all the way out across a planet's surface. You see it's doing all of this. This is running in real time. They're showing you the actual velocity of how you're moving. And every time it's doing this, it has to stream in the models and the textures and all of this fast enough that you don't get hitching, or you don't see those big blocks of unloaded, you know, low poly models. Even that right there, if you look up here on the top of this mountain, you'll see boulders pop up. They might be trees. I think they're boulders though. You'll see some of that pop up, and you'll see them load in, but that's because they're actually loading it in real time. That's how you know it's a real demo. See right here, there they go. But it's subtle enough you probably didn't notice it until I pointed it out. But look at this. So they sweep over this way, and then they go into a spaceship like it's nothing. And this is an actual player-occupied spaceship. You can fly around the game universe with your friends or whatever else. And then they're going to go, and look at this. The creation engine can't do that. And they definitely couldn't do that on the PlayStation 2. There's a lot of amazing coding and tech that goes into this stuff. Like, it's amazing. It's freakishly impressive. And granted, they've raised $600 million and spent hundreds of millions of dollars recoding and coding. Basically, I mean, it's an altered version of CryEngine is my understanding, but it's at this point it's a Frankenstein's monster kind of on its own. It's ridiculous. So, you know, we might be like, why don't other companies do this? Well, because they don't have $600 million to make a game. But still, it's absolutely mental that they're able to do this. And then you see like they go from here, and then they're going to swoop up and go into space here in a second. And they're streaming all of this data like it's nothing. Look at this. Bear in mind, this whole thing you can watch all the way through. There's not a single cut. It's just happening in real time. Then they pull out. Giggity. Into orbit. Generation and rendering of volumetric cloud at planetary scale. You're damn right. And then they're going to flip around. They're just going to casually go to a different planet. Now they're in space. Oh, baby. And then they're going to go off over there, warp drive. And then they're at another planet, full asteroid field. All of this data has to be loaded in. Then they're going to go down to this planet's surface. Whoosh. And you see a little floating city. And then they can go right in, and they're streaming all of this data that quickly. I mean, it's mad. It's madness. And this is, you know, where it all started. These difficulties of figuring out how to load in a city street texture in time from the DVD by the time the player reaches that was a consideration. And now they have ways that they can code around it. There's ways that you can kind of brute force it. We have these NVMe SSDs that are crazy cool. We have GPU like direct storage solutions. There's tons of wild stuff. But this is where it all started. They mention here, so Portland initially had a big drag running all along the island. This was a worst case scenario. The player could go fast and there were loads of buildings to load. The artists changed the road layout to slow the player down. In other areas or problem areas, we increased the drag or air resistance on vehicles by 5% or so. Hardly noticeable, but it helped. So there will be parts of the map where you literally will drive slower because they had to slow the player down in those areas. Otherwise, they'd move too fast and reach areas before they were loaded in. So they have to slow them down physically. All these little things that they thought of to slow the player down. They make more turns in the city streets. They put trees in the way so you can't just go straight. You know, they try to slow you down every way they can. All of it very, very intentional. The streaming issues were the main reason we couldn't let the player fly in GTA 3 other than with the Dodo. Streaming was also used for vehicle models, NPC models, and music, but the map posed the greatest difficulty because of the amount of data. As models got loaded into memory and then removed, the memory would fragment into smaller and smaller blocks. Adam's code constantly moved models around to fix this. This was tricky as models sometimes had to be moved while they could be rendered. For Vice City, various code improvements were made, better compression of models and textures, smarter code that would load the detailed versions of buildings only if the player was not flying, for example. Which, again, it's a little thing you wouldn't have thought, but it's like, yeah, when you're flying, they don't need the high res or high quality models, so keep them low if you're flying specifically. And then you get to games like GTA 5 where it's like, oh yeah, and then you just parachute wherever you want, whenever you want. You know, all of these things have been built on the foundations of the tech that was figured out for this stuff. Streaming issues tend to get worse with older DVDs and older PS2s as well, which is why sometimes even still games might have issues like this. But super, super cool. I mean, and now you see kind of the modern implementation of this tech, and the stuff they've done to reach this again is not that practical. It's easy for us to point at it and be like, yeah, see, this is way better than Starfield. See, yeah, I mean, it should be. This game has been in development for like a decade, and they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars recoding stuff, doing all sorts of stuff. And even then, it's constantly changing and adapting and evolving. It's wildly impressive, but this is not like a finished market-ready video game either. You can play it, but it's still not all there. Still not all there. Going into a wormhole like it's nothing. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I thought that was interesting. That was an interesting little trip down memory lane of old school games like that. It's super cool to see how all of this, you know, happens, how the cookie crumbles, how the sausage gets made. I always find it fascinating. And, you know, it should also make you really appreciate where we are today, because where we are today is pretty remarkable. It's pretty crazy. Okay. Okay. Whoops, I opened the wrong tab. Oh god. Yeah, Star Citizen made hundreds of millions selling microtransactions for a game that does not even exist. Okay, real quick. Nobody look it up. Nobody's going to look it up, okay? Raw guesses. How much money do you think Star Citizen has raised to date? I'm going to look it up right here. My guess before I pull it up, last I heard, They were at 600 million. So I'm going to guess 705 million. That's my guess. I'm guessing 705. Everyone put your guesses in. 1 billion. You guys think they're past a billion? 700, 800, 725, 720, 850, 800. Let's see. Pledge. Okay. So just in case you're not familiar with how this works, basically you can buy the starter pack, 45 bucks, you get access to the game and you get this ship. It's always going to be there. It never gets wiped or cleared or anything. Ships you buy with real money will always be yours. Ships you buy with in-game currency can be deleted when they do like major updates and wipe everything. So just be aware of that. But they have all of this, and then they also have high-level ships that are like $1,800 that are outrageously expensive. Sort by name. No, I wanted to sort by price. But yeah, there's some massive ships that are outrageously expensive. Some people have spent like tens of thousands of dollars on this game, and it's not even technically released yet. But let's see. So play now, pledge now, answer the call, development. Where's the money raised? Where pledge store, development, download, Spectrum, Citizen Con, status. No, that's Squadron 42. Support. I just want to know how much crazy amounts of money you have. I just want to know. Let's see. We pulled it up before. I just can never remember where it is. Development, dev tracker, roadmap. Oh, funding. Development funding. Let's see. Funds raised loading. $679 million. Who said 680? We had some people bring up 680. Who was it? Someone, I think somebody got that. Yeah, Guy Loken guessed it. 680 million. Kieran was close at 650. Grand Marquis was close at 650. Yeah, you guys were close. But they've raised $680 million. And they started back in 2012. So you would hope they would have a really impressive tech demo to show. Like you'd really hope. But like, look at this. This is madness. On the 19th, this is daily, okay? This is daily. This isn't even monthly. Look at this. On the 19th of this month, they raised just under $129,000 in a day. On the 20th of this month, they raised $140,712 in a day. On the 21st, $129,000. The 22nd was a rough day, only made $96,000. 23rd, really rough day, only $85,000. 24th, no better, like $86,000. 25th, a little better, $107,000. It's wild. There's some like conspiracy theories. Some people are like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a like money laundering scheme. Honestly, with the numbers they're doing, I wouldn't be shocked either. Not saying that it is a money laundering scheme. I'm just saying the amounts of money they're raising for a game that isn't even out yet is wild. This is on a month-to-month basis, okay? September, $4.75 million in a month. On October, $14.25 million. In November, they had a big event. In November, $28 million raised in a month. December, like $8 million. January, like 4. February, also about the same. March, probably closer to 5 million. Absolutely crazy. but it's because the people that play this, and I've tried to explain this in like the video I did on it. I've done a couple videos on Star Citizen, but I've tried to explain this to people, and I'm not sure if people fully understand. Like, the people that play Star Citizen are not, like, they're not gamers. They are Star Citizen players. Like, their hobby is Star Citizen. Their hobby isn't video games. Their hobby is Star Citizen. So for them, they get like the joystick to fly the ships, and they pour all of this money into upgrading their ships and getting equipment that they need. And then they're part of a faction and a group of other players, and they all come together and they work together to like buy and pool their money for bigger ships and stuff. Like, some people go crazy. Yeah, they're whales. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, they are whales. They spend outrageous amounts of money. Yeah, their most expensive bundle is $48,000 USD. Yeah, and I believe it comes with every ship that they sell. It's wild. It's wild. So, yeah, that's an actual quadruple A game. Unironically, I think it's fair to say that's quadruple A. I think that's totally fair. Literally my yearly salary. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever bought the $48,000 one, but I would imagine somebody has. Like, surely. They wouldn't put it out unless somebody did. Right? Fun fact, 93% of Star Citizen players drive a Tesla Cybertruck. Who knew? That's great. Dude, with the amount of money they're spending, they should get it tossed in for free. It's like, yeah, you buy this bundle for Star Citizen, we'll toss in a Cybertruck. Why not? Yeah. They also spend thousands on flight sim rigs. Yeah. I mean, the guys that go hard for this go hard for it. I go soft for it, but it just, you know, it's a condition. It's a condition. Okay, should we listen to Unreal Sensei describe something? And then I want to talk about this. We just need a quick little break from Fallout because we've said too much. Oh, this is going to trigger the crap out of me. The input lag when parrying and dodging is deliberate. I thought... Okay. Okay. Whatever. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. It happens to everyone, Luke. Yeah, for me, it's specifically after a few beers, you know, it happens. Happens to the best of us, right? Let's see this. So this is from Unreal Sensei, the one and only, who is an Unreal Sensei. And he's going to break down why Unreal Engine 5.4 is a game changer as somebody that's very familiar with it. Because I can look at it and be like, wow, that's impressive. But this guy actually knows his stuff. He actually knows what he's talking about. Let's see.
Unreal's newest up.
Oh, did one come through? I don't know why the sound isn't going off today, dudes. Thank you, James. Spider-Man 2 PS2 changed the games industry. It was a new experiment making Spider-Man move the way he does. It went on to inspire tons of open world movement. I don't doubt it. Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 was goated. I mean, I freaking love that game. I mean, I remember when Spider-Man for the PS4 came out and everybody was like, I don't know if it's going to be as good as that. And then we went back and we tried both of them and we're like, actually, no, this is way better. I just remember Spider-Man 2 very, very fondly because at the time it was shockingly good. And now, like, the Insomniac ones are also crazy smooth. But yeah, Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 was goated for sure. And Andre, 19 months. Thank you. Hey, Luke, any plans to return to the long format videos and critiques? I miss them. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's a very disruptive type of project. So for us, we just have to pick our battles. Last year, we picked Hogwarts Legacy, and that was the big game and the big project for it. This year, I keep waiting. Like, it has to be a game that I find interesting enough that I want to pour tons of time and effort into it and play like 2-3 times. And So I just have to pick what that's going to be. I fully expect there's going to be a handful of other games later this year that are going to be good and are going to be awesome and massive. But for me, they're just massive projects and they just take a lot of time and money and resources. So we just have to pick our battles a little bit more deliberately, since now I have to like pay 2 full-time people that work for me. So I'm like, I can't just stop making videos for a month to work on something, you know? Surprised he didn't do a Baldur's Gate 3 one. The thing with Baldur's Gate 3 is it's so big that to do that video justice would be like 15, 20 hours. And it's like, at that point, it's going to be like a year project. And I can't afford to pay my team and then also make a living while working on something of that scale, you know? It's just crazy. It's huge. Anyway, let's go camping.
Update, Unreal Engine 5.4 just released, and it is a huge deal. The reason why is a brand new motion design editor that will change the way 3D animations are made. In case you do not know, UE5 isn't just used for creating games. It can also create high quality animations for films and TV shows. While the animation tools are great, they are missing many features needed for motion design. Motion design is a type of animation that focuses on bringing graphic design elements to life through movement. The most common program for 3D motion design is Cinema 4D, which produces a lot of the unique animations you see online. The problem is that Cinema 4D is not real time, which means that to create an image, we have to wait for each frame to render. This rendering process can take hours, and it drastically slows down the creative process. Unreal fixes this with a brand new set of animation tools similar to Cinema 4D but in real time, that brings the power of procedural animation directly into the engine. That means we don't have to wait for an image to render. What you see on screen is what you will get. You can see your edits immediately. Some of these tools are cloners and effectors that create advanced procedural animations. You can clone thousands of objects and program how each of them interact with each other, creating unique, complex animations. To activate motion design is simple. It is just one button. This will transform Unreal Engine into the motion design editor. This donut is already set up as a cloner, which means we can duplicate it.
Clone the
For count,
donut.
I'll set it to 200. And now we have a lot of donuts. With effectors, we're able to animate cloners. This effector is set up to create an ocean of donuts.
Looks like heaven. Wow.
And this one is set up with physics for some advanced procedural animations.
That's wild. That's wild. And it looks pretty good too. Like I could see that in a commercial or
create something
something.
really interesting by setting this to unbound. Physical animations like this was difficult before the motion design tools. And you can animate everything. Here's an effector that generates an entire forest which is keyframed. With these tools, we can render common motion design animations.
So, I mean, even in the game space, like I see that and I think of like, what spell is it in D&D when they like overgrowth or whatever? And they like stick their hands in the ground and then all the plants shoot up. That's basically what this is. Somebody sticks their hands in the ground, Kamehameha, and then all of a sudden,
Forest, which is keyframed.
the forest blows
With
up.
these tools, we can render common motion design animations. On top of that, we can change static meshes in real time using modifiers, which can stack to create different effects. This is very similar to Blender's modifier system, and all of their properties are animatable. Also, we can now combine 2D and 3D graphics. There's a new 2D editor with a layer system similar to Photoshop and After Effects, with mask and blend modes. This makes editing 2D graphics easier than ever, and we can animate any of these 2D properties or add them as a part of a 3D animation. Since this is built on
Epic's just like, you know what if we just did like everything? What if we just like, you know, take on Photoshop, you know, to not like beat out Photoshop, to be clear. Photoshop still very, very powerful and everybody's going to keep using it. But in this case, like that would have previously been something you would have had to go to Photoshop, create an asset, and then bring it back into Unreal. And now they're like, no, you don't need to do that. Just keep it. Just stick it out. It's fine. Whatever, you know. Sean! Thank you, my friend. Sean. Who said instant NFTs? How dare you? Thank you, Sean. Sean the GOAT. Sean the man. Coming in here. Welcome, everybody who just got memberships gifted by the one and only Sean Dara. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
top of UE5, we have access to all of its features, like lumen, nanite, particles, and so much more. With these features and the new motion design tools, you can pretty much create any animation you are thinking of. A lot of the animation work that would be done in Cinema 4D or After Effects can now be created in Unreal. On top of motion design, the way we animate playable characters has fundamentally changed in 5.4. Traditionally, the way we create animations that react to the player's input was through state machines and blend spaces. Player characters are made up of a
Yeah, those. Those things. I was just about to say state machines and blend spaces. He took the words right out of my mouth.
bunch of unique animations.
You know what? And we hear a lot about representation in video games and how important diversity is and all of that. And you know what? I get it now. Finally, I feel represented. Somebody with my same body type represented right here. You love to see it.
Animations. For example, there's an idle animation for when the character isn't moving, another animation for when they're walking, and a running animation when the character is moving the fastest. With blend spaces, you can blend between animations. Here, I'm blending between those three animations. So at first the character is idle, and as they start to move, they transition into the walking animation. And then when they move really fast, they transition into the running animation.
Okay.
But if you have ever played a game before, you know that animations aren't just walking and running. Different animations are played depending on the context or state of the game, which is why we use state machines. State machines will switch out different sets of animation depending on the gameplay. For example, this state machine is using the walking blend space. And then when the character jumps, it switches to other states with jumping animations. Or if the player attacks, it switches from the idle run state to an attack state with a swing animation. While we have a lot of control, we have to repeat this process for every animation that you want to use. Very quickly, we can end up with insanely complicated state machines that require a lot of work and programming to animate. Motion matching is new animation technology that makes this process easier.
Well, what's crazy is like this was something that was proprietary. Only a few studios would have it. Like people had it. I think Naughty Dog had it. They were one of the first ones back in like 2016 with Uncharted 4, and it was stunning back then. I mean, it was ridiculously impressive how you could just blend all these things. You walk it close to a wall, he puts his hand on the wall, and now that's pretty mainstream. That's pretty normal, but now they're bringing it to Unreal, to just a free engine you can start messing around with if you want. It's wild.
Instead of state machines and blend spaces, it uses a motion database to dynamically select the best.
And I should say, it's free to try and use, but if you make a game and you want to sell it, you pay royalties. It's not like free.
Frame or animation.
There's no somebody's going to be in the comments.
All the hard work is done for
Actually,
us. And it can create seamless transitions for complex traversal without having to manually define what each animation is used for. It is able to predict the next location of the character to help decide what to pick. So if the character is jumping, the system would automatically pick an animation where the player is bracing to fall back to the ground. And it has recently been used in games like The Last of Us Part 2 because of its smooth, organic movement. To use motion matching is pretty simple. We have a brand new motion matching database, which will ask for all the animations you want to pick from. So here are a bunch of animations from the shooter example that I could just drag in there like this. Now, these are all the animations that the player character can use. Right here is motion matching in action, and it is a lot simpler than creating state machines. If you want to improve the quality, then you have to add more unique animations to the database. The issue with this database is that there's only 4 directions the player can go. If we add more varied animations, it would improve the fidelity of the character. So the more animations, the better your character's movement is, which is why Unreal Engine is giving away hundreds of high-quality motion capture animations for developers to add to their databases to get started with motion matching. Creating large open worlds just got a lot easier with a brand new biome generator added in this update. Recently, Epic Games released Lego Fortnite.
this is one of the coolest things about Unreal, though, and Epic just in general, is that they'll do something like the Lego Fortnite whatever mode, and then they'll go in and they'll use the tools that they developed for that game mode, and then they'll just add them to Unreal. And it's like, yep, here it is. Go for it. You know, it's pretty wild. it's crazy because not many companies would do that where they just like release something that crazy unique. It's wild.
Created using Unreal Engine. In the game, players can explore a world that is randomly generated. This means each world is unique to the player, and no two environments are the same. The game most famous for random generation is Minecraft, which creates an infinite world according to rules defined by the game programmers. This technology of creating environments based off of random numbers and rules set by the artist is called procedural generation, and it is essential to a lot of games. Because of this, Unreal Engine 5.2 added procedural content generation, or PCG for short, into the engine.
If you haven't seen this
PCG
before, like they have a couple of meshes and whatever they called them, assemblies, I think is what they called them. But then they have this and they can plop it down. They can put a couple of like modifiers on it and then it will just dynamically respond to it.
We could create graphs
so they move
with
it,
rules for random
the
generation.
logs move. It's crazy.
This graph you see right here automatically generates an oasis. I can drag this PCG into the world and an oasis will spawn in. This is great because realistically, we can't expect an artist to hand place every single object. Using PCG, we can create graphs that automate the tedious process for us. Because of the rules I set, I can change the shape of it, lower or raise the amount of trees, or cut a road through it. You can watch the Unreal 5.2 video to learn more about it. PCG has gotten a significant update in UE 5.4 with the Biome Generator. This tool was originally created to generate the biomes in LEGO Fortnite. Biomes are sets of procedural generation rules. Minecraft and LEGO Fortnite are divided up into biomes, with some areas being forests, others being deserts or snowy mountains. They are the key to procedural worlds, because without them, the world would be stagnant with the same repeating patterns everywhere. Here is an example of the biome generator. All of these biomes and the static meshes that make up them are being placed procedurally. And while this example is small, you could extend this to a massive open world. And just in case you want more control, you can move biomes around, and the tool will realistically scatter the assets. This tool was created entirely using PCGs. You can see by opening up the graph how it was made. This goes to show how versatile procedural content generation is. Entire new tools and worlds can be generated from it. And you could get great results without a complicated graph. This is a PCG I created from scratch that quickly switches between biomes. With the biome generator and procedural content generation, we can start to generate infinite worlds in Engine. 5.4 also gave us a brand new texture editor called Texture Graph, which allows users to create textures and materials entirely within Unreal Engine. Unreal has always had a material editor, which is how we have created and controlled materials. But in order to create materials, we need textures, which were not made in Unreal. Textures are created by either scanning or photographing textures in real life, or by using a program called Substance Designer that uses procedural generation similar to PCG but in 2D. By stringing together a bunch of math operations and random generation, we can quickly make complex textures. This is inside Substance Designer.
My brain! Oh! No, all of this is just crazy. Because, like, back in, like, high school and middle school and stuff, I was really into Blender. I was really into learning how to 3D model and make scenes and all sorts of stuff. And at the time I was just kind of messing around, but it actually led to some kind of fun stuff where, like, for example, I remember I 3D modeled our kitchen in one of my houses that I grew up in. And I found it like a few months ago. I found the file again and you could open it up. And then it was kind of weird because I could go back through and look at it and be like, oh yeah, that was one of the kitchens growing up. Like you might see it in like a photograph, but to see it like in 3D again was just kind of cool. So I'm glad I got into it. But back then, you know, I was working with Blender 2.4 or whatever, and it was very, very clunky, very difficult to use. And all of these things were fractured. Like if you wanted to do anything, you had to use 10 different programs, and it was all extremely tedious and difficult to do. And it just seems like all of these things that they're building out for Unreal is just with the ultimate aim of having it so you never have to open another app again. Like if you're going to make a game, you just use Unreal. Easy peasy.
And this entire graph right here is creating all the textures that were used for this material completely from scratch. And here's Unreal's brand new texture graph editor. This brick wall texture was also generated from scratch, but inside of Unreal. No photo scanning was involved. All the nodes you see right here are being used to create this texture. So let's zoom in to see what is happening. We first start off with a procedural pattern that we add noise to. This pattern will be used as a base to separate our concrete from the bricks. We then generate a brick color and create the concrete color. Now there is real geometric depth. The entire material was generated procedurally. Texture Graph opens up whole new possibilities to create materials or speed up our texturing workflows. Motion design isn't the only animation feature to get improvements.
Sorry, I'm a professional streamer. Just, sorry everybody, sorry. Yeah, this is the big reveal. This whole stream has been in Unreal Engine 5. I am the demo. I am the one who demos. Sorry, I'm a professional. I'm sorry.
5.4, creating animatable characters is now easier than ever with modular control rigs. To animate 3D characters, we first need a rig. Rigs are artist-friendly controls that make common tasks easier. On metahumans, there are 2 rigs. One that controls the entire body, and another one that controls the face. In Unreal, we can create our own rigs called control rigs. But creating control rigs requires a lot of programming. To automate this process, we now have modular control rigs, which are pre-made rigs we can add to our characters to start animating quickly without any programming. This means that now with the skeletal mesh editor, introduced in UE 5.3, artists can add bones to create a skeletal mesh and then rig the skeleton mesh with modular control rigs. Something that used to be done in Maya or Blender can now be done entirely in Unreal within a shorter period of time. Also added is a new auto retargeter. This can transfer any animation on a bipedal character to another bipedal one. So all the animations we already have access to for metahumans and the default skeleton mesh can be used by new characters. On top of all this, the sequencer, which is the timeline we animate on, has gotten a facelift, improving readability, and there is a brand new gizmo, making the process of using control rigs a lot easier. Unreal Engine now performs significantly better with multiple parts of the engine being optimized. Tests on the city sample demo showed that GPU time decreased by 25% and render thread time decreased by 50%, dramatically increasing the frame rates. Hardware ray tracing is now 2 times faster for some environments and targets 60 frames per second. With every new update, Unreal gets faster. This just touches the surface. You can check out the release notes to see everything added to the engine, which was a massive amount for 5.4. Unreal Engine is constantly evolving. Every week there is something new in the world of Unreal and computer graphics, which is why I made the Unreal Sensei newsletter to keep you always up to date with the latest Unreal news. There's a link to join in the description. Also, there's no better time to learn Unreal than now. Luckily for you, I have a free course here on YouTube that will teach you how to create the environment you see on screen. Check it out in the description and subscribe for more UE5 content in the future.
Oh yeah, go sub. I mean, really, I think if you're interested at all in game development, start messing around with Unreal. You can download it for free tutorials all over the place. Just go try it. Like, it's going to be used for everything. Huge studios are moving to it. Like, just makes sense. Oh, excuse me. When you see all that, why big studios continue to develop their own engine? Well, so Unreal Engine's mighty powerful. It's not necessarily the be all end all for everybody, you know? It's really good at things that they showcase, because naturally they're going to showcase the stuff it's really good at. They're not going to showcase the stuff it's not very good at. We've seen plenty of Unreal Engine games in the last few years that launch and are very beautiful, but they are super heavy to run. They don't tend to be super well optimized. And you know, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. So there are shortcomings with it. And for some studios, you know, there's a bunch of moving pieces to it. For one, like, they might have spent years and years developing proprietary tools or technologies that they couldn't just port over. Like, You know, Rockstar has an amazing engine of their own, and they have a lot of tech that they've built out just for that they can't just move over to Unreal. So there's no real reason for them to move. For somebody like Bethesda Game Studios, they've been building with Creation Engine for ages. And so for them to move over would mean retraining the entire staff. It would mean any sort of assets or things they've built specifically for their engine now aren't going to be usable. A lot of these like engines would require new server infrastructures. They might need to get new PCs for all of the devs. Like, it's not as simple as just downloading a different program. And I want to be very clear about that, because a lot of people are just like, well, they should just move to Unreal. Just do that. It's like, it's a big deal, which is why it was such a big deal when like CDPR moved to it. It's like Rage 9 or something. Yeah. They don't talk about it publicly very much, naturally, because it's proprietary and they don't want to spoil it, but still. It's, yeah, obviously I brought up Rockstar because like they're the first ones I thought of with a named engine, but even like Anvil from Ubisoft or Snowdrop or any of these other engines, they do some stuff really, really good, or they're specialized. You know, maybe like Frostbite is specialized in like shooters, and so they wouldn't really need to move over to Unreal if they're just doing a first-person shooter again. Whatever the Call of Duty engine is very specialized for what they do, so they don't need to move over to Unreal. So Unreal is really good for a certain type of thing, and they will showcase around the stuff they're good at, but there's a reason you don't see a lot of Unreal Engine demos like as first-person shooters and stuff, because they just don't need to. Like, it's not what they specialize in. They're appealing to like the third-person adventure games. That's what they specialize in, with more photorealistic graphics. That's what they're shooting for. So they still use Frostbite for Battlefield, I think. I think so too. Maybe they shouldn't, but because they've had some problems. Okay, let's touch on this real quick. New segment. So I've been waiting for a new Switch for many a moon. I couldn't tell you the last time I pulled out my Switch and played with it. That sounded grody. I didn't mean it to be. But basically, we've just had no big games since Tears of the Kingdom for the Switch. And Tears of the Kingdom, great game for the Switch. Don't get me wrong. But it seems like with the Switch, there's like once a year a game you really need to play over there that's really good. Other than that, it just sits on the shelf and collects dust. It doesn't like do anything. It's kind of infuriating. Because I love my Switch. I'd love to use it more, but at this point, there's no reason to use it for third-party games because the Steam Deck or an ROG Ally or something will just do it better. So no reason to use it for those games. And beyond that, first-party games are the main thing, and there just really are not that many. So it's like, there's just not much reason to use it. So I and many other people have been waiting for the Switch 2, or whatever they end up calling it. It was rumored initially to be releasing at the end of this year. It's now looking like it's been pushed to next year at some point. Why that was, there's probably a few reasons for it. It's probably manufacturing issues. It's probably that they are wanting to make sure that they have enough inventory, that they don't have the problems of the last Switch, which was just that it was scalped like crazy. They just want to have plenty of inventory for everybody. And they probably also want to make sure that they get enough first day one launches, some launch titles. I fully expect that they're going to launch probably with a new Smash Bros game. They're going to launch with a new Mario Kart and probably a new Mario game also. So they're going to have like 3 huge first party games, I would imagine, at launch that will drive sales, and I'm here for it. 2025 is going to be crazy. But we've seen some other leaks and stuff come out which are sort of mixed. So the Switch 2 reportedly has magnetic Joy-Cons, might not support existing ones. It's also claimed that the current Pro controller will be compatible with the new console, which is nice because it's very expensive. Long-running Spanish video game website Vandal claims to have received information about the console from sources at peripheral manufacturers. According to the site, the Switch 2's Joy-Con controllers will attach to the console magnetically, as current Joy-Cons connect to the Switch using a rail system. It's unclear if they'll be forward compatible with the new console. The existing Nintendo Switch Pro controller will work with the Switch 2, it's claimed, and it's worth noting that prior to the Switch OLED's reveal in 2021, Vandal accurately reported on some of the console's features, such as the inclusion of a new stand and an Ethernet port. VGC reported in February that Nintendo had internally delayed the launch of its next-gen console from this year to early 2025, probably putting it in line with like the March release window that they had last time around. One publishing source suggested that the delay was so that it could prepare stronger first-party software for the console, while others have claimed the move was to avoid potential hardware supply issues. Probably both. I mean, both are good things to avoid and have fixes for. VGC also reported last summer that development kits for the Switch 2 were in the hands of key partner studios. Two sources VGC spoke to at the time suggested that the console could launch with an LCD screen instead of the more premium OLED in order to bring down costs, especially considering the increased storage needed for higher fidelity games. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. The Switch and all of Nintendo stuff are consistently behind the technological curve. I mean, it's just kind of what they do. They're usually a generation roughly behind, which if the Switch 2 is able to run like PS4 and Xbox One games pretty well, okay, that's pretty solid. It'll put it in line with like a Steam Deck probably in terms of power. There's also rumors of them having like DLSS support, which would be awesome, and things like that. But mainly, I think most of us are just interested in the Switch at this point for first-party games from Nintendo. So I hope that we see similar things come about this time. But as of right now, it's just sitting on ice. Like they're just waiting until it's ready and then they're going to drop it. I do think it'll dominate the discussion early next year. But next year is going to be crazy. I mean, allegedly we're getting what, like everything next year? There's going to be a lot next year. Next year is going to be crazy. A Super Mario Battle Royale game, you never know. If they are a generation behind, that would be very funny. But I want to, how many of you guys in chat, I guess we can do a straw poll. Straw poll. I'm going to poll or post a poll for all of you. And I just want to know, will you get a Switch 2 within the first year? Okay, so not necessarily at launch. Not necessarily at launch. I'll just do a maybe. But within the first year, okay? Creating, poll, copying, link. Okay, I'm going to post this in both chats. So you guys vote on that. I mean, no shocker to anybody. I'll be getting it because I'm a YouTuber and I kind of have to. But let's see the votes. More no's than I thought, honestly. I don't really cover Nintendo stuff either, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised, but still. Since Steam Deck released, I'm not interested by it. Yeah, if you're not into Nintendo first-party games, there is no reason to get it. I mean, at this point, there's so many handhelds coming out. Xbox is reportedly interested in a handheld of their own, so yeah, look at that. About 50, 25, 25. Now, would it change? Would it change if you found out there were a new Animal Crossing coming? No? Okay. I'm hungry for a new a new Animal Crossing game, I'll tell you what. I need it. I need it. I needs it. Okay. Let's finally talk about this one. I've been putting it off all day. Let's do it. News segment. Okay. Xbox has a sleeping giant on its hands, and it can't wait another decade for Bethesda to be ready. Coming from Jordan Midler from VGC. Bethesda, it's time to let someone else make Fallout 5. Now, this is a little bit more bold than I was saying. My stance is that they should give the franchise for like a Fallout New Vegas remake or a spin-off game, like a New Vegas 2, something like that. if they did that, I think that would be respectful to BGS, as little as they may deserve it. But at the very least, they could still do Fallout 5, and some other team will do another spin-off game. That to me is more fair. It makes more sense. But this thesis is evidently that someone else should make the next main Fallout game, which is pretty bold. And I don't think there's a chance in hell that they do that. I really, really don't think so. It's been almost a decade since the last single-player Fallout game. True, it's been about 9 years. It'll probably be another decade until we get another one from Bethesda, at least. After Fallout 4, Todd's team is set course for the stars, and the Fallout license was granted to a mix of Bethesda Game Studios and BGS Austin to develop Fallout 76. While Fallout 76's fortunes have improved greatly since its troubled launch, and there are plenty of players that will swear by its content all these years later, the lack of a proper single-player title, or even the faint notion that it's something Bethesda will work on before 2028, is disappointing. Of course, it's not like Bethesda doesn't have a lot on. It's not like Bethesda doesn't have a lot on. Okay. Starfield was released last year, and an expansion is on the way. After that, The Elder Scrolls 6, which Bethesda bafflingly announced in 2018 when the game was little more than written on a whiteboard. There's a sense that the massive fan bases that Bethesda has cultivated are both waiting in a queue. Also, this is like a really bad Photoshop, is it not? I know it's an official picture, but it looks like he was photographed just standing there, and then they spliced him on top of power armor. It looks really weird, doesn't it? The lighting isn't right, because like the backlight is hitting his left, or I guess his right side of his face, but then the key light over here is hitting him full on his cheek, but it should be affected by the power armor somehow, but it's just not. So it doesn't look right. It just looks like a really weird Photoshop. Anyway, sorry, ADHD. You've been waiting since 2015, must be nice. We've been waiting since 11/11/11, cries the deflated Elder Scrolls fan. Add to this the fact that the mechanics of developing a game have mutated in every direction. An Elder Scrolls game built on the standards of a modern game is a decade-long effort. A Fallout game would be the same. Todd Howard is 54 years old. How many decade-long efforts does he have left? Also, you're assuming that they're going to work to maintain the standards of a modern game. That is a dangerous assumption to make. That's an assumption I probably would not make. And I don't think hardly anybody else would make it either, which is why the overwhelming majority of people, like I surveyed 70,000 people through a YouTube poll, very scientific, and only like 6% of people said that they were more excited for the Elder Scrolls 6 after playing Starfield. Most people are anticipating it being notably worse than it should be, frankly. So there's that. This is not to denigrate Bethesda or its style of game. Even if some fans think the formula is getting long in the tooth, it's more about the gut feeling. That gut feeling of watching Amazon's new Fallout show and being desperate to explore a brand new world that you've not traipsed through 100 times. A game you don't have to mod the beginning or ending of to feel fresh. Something that was developed this decade. The answer is obvious. Let someone else make Fallout 5, and we both probably know who I'm thinking of. I'm sure if you've said that to the majority of the staff of Bethesda, they'd look back at you like you'd passed wind in their general direction. And I understand why. It's one thing letting another team make a spin-off game based on something you're in charge of, but a fully fledged sequel? Yeah, this is the part where I'm not sure if I agree. I think a remake of a fan favorite or another spin-off following in line of a fan favorite, that to me seems like the best way to keep everybody happy. The not-so-secret best Fallout game wasn't made by Bethesda. Fallout New Vegas is a game that takes everything Fallout 3 promised it was before it came out and actually delivered on it. I love Fallout 3 dearly, but for all its promises about your actions mattering and shaping the world, it's about as basic as it comes. It is true. Like, I went back and saw the videos of them talking about Fallout 3 before it launched, and to be fair, like, I was a child. I was actually, like, 10, 11 years old when they were marketing that game. So I didn't hear any of this stuff. But if you go back and you watch it now and you watch the trailers and the interviews and stuff with like G4 that they did, they said time and again, they're like, yeah, we really wanted to challenge the player with intense moral decisions. And those moral decisions are like, do you want to bomb Megaton and just blow it up or not? Moral decision. It's like, that's not a moral decision. Like, you're just asking me, do you want to be a horribly evil person or not? Like, that's not a grayed out moral decision where it's nuanced, you know, like the grayed out moral decision. There's actually, I probably shouldn't say because it's spoilers and some people might not have finished the Fallout show, but in the Fallout show, there's plenty of grayed out moral decisions. And even in like the finale of season 1, they bring up one where they're trying to, well, they bring up a few, but they're trying to discuss, you know, a decision of a couple of big characters and they're trying to justify it to each other. And it's really interesting. Blowing up Megaton and killing 100 innocent people is not like a difficult moral quandary. It just isn't. They continue. Oh, you decided to wipe a town from existence and murder dozens of people. When you eventually find your dad and inform him of that, he'll react like you've told him you forgot to take the bins out. Its morality is, or its morality as understood by a child. It is weird that like you have that final discussion with Liam Neeson. He's like, son, or sorry, hold on.
Son, that's too low.
Son, you're telling me you blew up an entire town? What a dick. Like, you would expect him to at least say that. Instead, he's like, well, I can't say I approve. It's like, what? That's bad, dude. No. You should, if any action ever deserved a spanking from my father, that's it. I killed dozens of people for the lulz. And you're just like, whatever. Whatever. Anyway, a new Fallout game from Obsidian, even if it wasn't a sequel to New Vegas, would be an absolute megaton for Microsoft. It ticks so many of the boxes that the company has been desperately trying to mark off for the last decade. It's a huge franchise RPG from a developer that delivers when it comes to critical acclaim. Sometimes. I mean, The Outer Worlds was like, it was pretty good, but it wasn't like a masterpiece. But that might have been budgetary restrictions, might be just IP restrictions. Even New Vegas did not launch to 10 out of 10 scores, to be very, very clear. New Vegas is still very buggy. It's still pretty broken. They put it together in 18 months, which makes it wildly impressive. But like, it's not... It also did not launch to wild critical acclaim. It's more of a cult classic than anything else. I love it dearly, but we shouldn't like rewrite history about it, you know? That being said, I do think Obsidian could do a great job. Or as we said earlier in the stream, I think you could have In Exile do it. They're currently working on Clockwork Revolution. They have ties back to the original Fallout games. So that would be kind of a cool, we've come full circle type of project. And Clockwork Revolution looks great. So that could be a really cool way to do something a little bit different and unexpected. But I mean, it just, again, it's the elephant in the room is do something with Fallout. Fallout is a sleeping giant of an IP, and it's in Microsoft's best interest to not just wait for Todd Howard to be ready. I'm sure it's aware of this. You'd struggle to miss the uptake in popularity of the whole Fallout franchise following the release of the warmly received Amazon adaptation. It's easy to imagine Microsoft is frustrated that it didn't have a full-priced game or even a new game to put into Game Pass alongside it. Sony catches a lot of flack for the way it has handled The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, but from a cold hard business perspective, these prestige prices or pieces of TV clearly drive a huge amount of business. Now that the series has been renewed for season 2, the calls within Microsoft to get something Fallout shaped out the door have surely only increased. The issue with the fantasy booking of Obsidian taking the reins is, of course, the fact that Obsidian is already hard at work on 2 titles, Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2, the latter of which is often met with uncharitable Fallout with names filed off accusations. And I've heard some people say, well, they should just cancel The Outer Worlds 2 and do do Fallout. And while I don't think they would fully cancel it because it is their IP and they're proud of it and all that, it is clear that it's basically Fallout in space without being Fallout. Like, that's basically what it's pitched as and what it was designed as. And that's part of the reason some people love it. But I mean, I would guess if Phil Spencer called Obsidian's executives and was like, guys, we need something Fallout. We need a win. We need like a trailer. We're going to have you guys do a remake of New Vegas. And I need you to put the Outer Worlds 2. We're going to delay it by a year or two, and you're going to work on this instead. I think that would go over well with the fans. I don't think Obsidian guys would be that upset about it. I think that would just make too much sense. You know, it would lay up. Yeah, New Vegas will always be a favorite of mine, but there's no denying the nostalgia has raised it up with some viewing in rose-tinted glasses. Still no denying it's a fantastic game. I agree, Sandwich. New Vegas is great, but it's important to remember what it is. I mean, it was a game put together in 18 months. It's wild. It's crazy. They had to put it together so freaking fast, and it was very broken. Even to this day, if you try to play it vanilla, it's still pretty busted. There's still all sorts of bugs and crap you'll run into. I encourage you to try it. Like, it's really like, oh, wow. I did that I tried where I went back and tried it again after a long time, and I was like, oof, yeah, I remember this. You know, but you would expect it being 18 months. So if they did a full remake of it with modern tools and stuff, I think it could be super, super cool. Super cool. But they go on. There's also the question of whether Obsidian wants to do it. I understand this. I understand that this and much of the discourse around New Vegas 2 feels like fans just telling Obsidian to cancel what it cares about and get on with the games that matter, which can't be nice. Yeah, they've also, I'm pretty sure the CEO of Obsidian has previously said he would love to work on Fallout, but they haven't gotten the call yet. So I don't know. Maybe that was just giving like the interview and answer he thought they would like to hear. But I do agree. It is starting to feel like we're all just like, I don't care, Phil, figure it out. Put somebody on it. They can suck it up and do it. It's going to be great. And that's not always the way to get like a game that's really good, is to force somebody to do it against their will, but still. My point is more that the world of Fallout is crying out for other stories to be told, other types of games, other developers to take the stage. It's honestly a testament to both the merchandising team at Bethesda and the love that the Fallout fans have for the game that you still see Fallout stuff absolutely everywhere, even before the TV show arrived. The Vault Boy icon with his thumb up remains a genuinely iconic image in modern gaming, yet fans haven't had a proper single-player release since Obama was president. Thanks, Obama. We will eventually get Fallout 5, but if Bethesda and Todd Howard are devoted to making it themselves, we simply can't wait until 2035. Microsoft has incredible developers clogging up its kitchen drawers. Give them a chance to tell their story with the incredible toolbox that is the Fallout universe. It's a big wasteland out there. There's room. I mean, I agree. I think they need to do something. I think. I think Bethesda should make the next mainline entry, but I'd love to see more spin-offs a la New Vegas from other developers, New Vegas 2 from Obsidian, Fallout 76 sequel from ZeniMax Online. They are working on something. There's rumors. They've hired a bunch of people at ZeniMax Online, and they haven't dropped or revealed anything, but there's rumors ZeniMax has something big that they're going to reveal. Some people think it's going to be like the full-on Fallout MMO that Fallout 76 was trying to be. Other people think it's going to be kind of a revamp of like the Elder Scrolls. Others think it's going to be a totally new IP. It's kind of up in the air. It's not clear what it is, but they've been working on it for ages and hiring a ton of people for it. So ZeniMax Online is working on something. A CRPG sequel to 1 and 2 from Larian, or, I mean, honestly, I don't think Larian would do it because they've already said they want to do their own franchises, but another similar studio I think would be potentially interested, or a more linear experience from Machine Games. Yeah, I do think a linear narrative first-person shooter Fallout game could actually be successful. I do actually think that could work. Rock, thank you. 6 months. Oh, baby. Thank you, my friend. Yeah. An MMO would be indefinitely sating Fallout thirst. I don't, it wouldn't satiate it for me. Personally, it just wouldn't do enough for me. But I understand why others might get off for it, you know? But just for me, it wouldn't be quite enough. Personally. It takes at least 4 years to make a brand new game, so unless they intend to remaster Fallout 3/New Vegas, it'll be a while before anyone will be able to play a new Fallout game. True. Great take, to be honest. From the past releases, unfortunately, Bethesda has built a reputation of long dev cycles that still result in poorly optimized games. The recent next-gen update to Fallout 4 basically seemed to just break things while not adding much. I hope Xbox and the other studios in their portfolio will make Bethesda games better. But yeah, I also don't want to wait another 10 years for Fallout 5 or the next Elder Scrolls. Well, and I mean, again, all of this is just built on the presumption that Fallout 5 from BGS would be something you would want. And I'm not sure if that's the case. Like, Bethesda has had 2 back-to-back kind of whiffs with Fallout 76 and then Starfield disappointing a lot of their core fan base. I still think Starfield was fine. It just wasn't a very good space exploration game. And if you tried to play it like a space exploration game, which is what it was sold as, you were going to have a bad time. And it's the same thing with Fallout 4. Like, if you try to play Fallout 4 the way they pitched it, which was like an intense narrative game, or narrative RPG, you're going to have a bad time, because Fallout 4 is not a very good narrative game. Fallout 4 is a pretty good looter shooter, basically, but everything else it does is pretty bleh. So I don't think it's fair to just assume that Fallout 5 would be great if only we could get it now, because I don't think that's a given. I think even Elder Scrolls 6 is going to disappoint a lot. And I mean a lot of people. Like, if you thought the blowback for Starfield was bad, just you wait. Just you wait. All of the problems at Bethesda have been compounding. They've gotten worse as time has gone on. And that's not going to just magically change. Like, it's going to continue to compound. If you thought Starfield was like, okay, well, what people said was Fallout 4 was like 3 years out of date. Fallout 76, like 5 to 6 years out of date, and it was broken. Starfield, like a decade out of date. It's behind even, games from 2015, 2016. I mean, we could see in Elder Scrolls 6 where, like, straight up to walk into buildings, you have to go through a load screen. That in 2028, potentially on the next generation of consoles, will be entirely unacceptable. Entirely unacceptable. But Bethesda doesn't seem to care about it. And like, all of these technical things are just going to continue compounding and getting worse and getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And I don't think anything magically is going to change because they don't seem bothered by it. They really don't seem to see the issue. So, yeah, they have a Fibonacci sequence of outdatedness. That's a funny smart person joke. I appreciate that. Okay, that's pretty funny. It's because the Fibonacci sequence is like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144. So the Fibonacci sequence of outdatedness for Bethesda would be like, what would we say? So if we said 3 years was Fallout 4, so Skyrim was a couple years out of date, Fallout 3 was 1, Oblivion was 1, Morrowind was cutting edge at the time. That's about right. So Morrowind, cutting edge. Oblivion, a little behind, but still very, very good. Fallout 3, a little behind, but still everything else was good enough that it didn't really matter. Skyrim, great game. A little behind the curve technologically, but fine. It's not going to hold a candle to like Rockstar, but it's fine. And then like Fallout 4, okay. Yeah, not that great. Not that great. It's a little behind. And then Fallout 76, you're like, okay, guys, what are we doing? Have you not made any progress in the last few years? And then Starfield comes out. You're like, okay, guys, what are we doing? And then the Elder Scrolls 6 will drop like 13 years behind the curve. So it'll feel like a 2015 game in 2028, which is about right. That's about where I'd pin it. And then we'd get in 2035, Fallout 5 feeling 21 years out of date. It would just straight up feel like a 2016 game. That's about right. Yeah. That's about as accurate a estimation you could possibly run up. That's pretty freaking funny. Wow. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Fibonacci sequence of outdatedness. That's pretty funny. Mick, they don't even feel out of date. As someone who wasn't old enough to enjoy Skyrim and Oblivion on release, they are still phenomenal when I play them today. I don't even know how to explain it when I play Starfield on release it for like 6 hours and completely lose interest, but then can go back to Oblivion, which released when I was 7, and sink 50 hours into it. I just think like Bethesda's games are adventure sandboxes. And that's what makes them really unique, because not many other studios make adventure sandboxes. But their massive, catastrophic blunder with Starfield was assuming that you could take an adventure sandbox and then take the sandbox and use mason jars to fill with sand and then put a lid on it and be like, see, it's the same thing. And instead of giving players and the kids a sandbox to play in, they just handed them a sandbox worth of jars. And we're like, see, have fun. And that's not how it works. Sandboxes need to be spread out. You need to be able to stretch your legs and play around, you know? Like, you got to be able to enjoy all of it all at the same time freely. When everything is segmented into little jars, they're just stupid jars of sand. Like, there's nothing to play with, really. And it was like the massive miscalculation of Starfield, which was that you could take what made Bethesda games so great, which was that exploration loop of just going around the sandbox and doing whatever you wanted. And they thought that you could take that into little bitty jars and fish bowls of planet surface areas and explore those and have fun. And it's just not fun. And so then they get all shocked and surprised when you just put the jar down. You're like, I'm not really having fun. I'd rather go play in an actual sandbox. So even though that sandbox over there that you got me years ago, even though it's kind of dirty, cats have been hanging out in it, and it's like run down, there's splinters and all sorts of stuff I'm gonna get. But you know what? At least it's a sandbox, and I can have fun with it. It makes sense now, but you know, I think that Bethesda just made a massive blunder when they were thinking about it. And I mean, at the end of the day, I just think you can't really blame anybody else except the core design team. Because when you design a game, like you create the design document, you basically create the video game in your mind and on a document that you can write out everything. And so you can see what the game's going to look like before it's even started to get pieced together. And then the idea is that you can make changes or eliminate things that don't make sense before you even get there. So you don't waste time, you don't waste resources or money or anything else. But Bethesda doesn't use design documents. Exactly, Doom. They don't use design documents. They don't like to, because they say it slows them down. So it's no surprise that they had this idea where they're like, yeah, we'll just make basically Fallout, but we're going to put it in space and we'll go to planet surfaces and explore those. And yeah, there'll be like smaller areas to explore, but it'll still be fun because we can place stuff for them to explore. And it just didn't work. But if they had stopped and really thought critically, is it fun to just run between 3 points of interest, maybe one of which is an actual explorable area, the others you just scan and move on? Is that actually fun? Not really. Like, really, it's not really fun. 16 times the mason jars. So, it's just a miscalculation, but it was a big one. A big, juicy, girthy miscalculation. Is anyone playing Stellar Blade? Is it good? Is it out officially? I think it's out. Oh God, he said girthy. Yeah, someone's gonna clip it. Someone's gonna clip that. It's okay.
He got
Okay. 16 times the jiggle. If Starfield is 7 out of 10, what's the good part of it? 7 out of 10 implies the majority of the game is good, and yet no one talks about the good parts. No, so when we rate games on a number scale, we're trying to use like the common parlance, the common usage of those scores. So commonly in gaming discourse, the expectation is that a 10 is a masterpiece, a 9 is amazing, 8 is most companies would say like good or great, or like very good or great. 7 is good, 6 is mediocre, 5 is bad, and anything below 5 is like, this is awful. That's how most review sites use it. That's how most companies use it. I would say the first 20, 25 hours of Starfield are probably like 7.5 to 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. Once you get past that initial wave of seeing the unique stuff and you start seeing the repeated stuff and you realize how the game is just like the same thing copy and pasted over and over again, then it drops. And that's what we've seen with players. The more they've played it, the worse it's gotten. The scores and stuff have gotten. Because when I surveyed people and asked them if they were more or less excited for Fallout or for The Elder Scrolls 6 after playing Starfield, when I asked them right after the launch of Starfield, it was like 30% of players were still more excited for The Elder Scrolls 6 after playing Starfield. 3 months later, that number had dropped to like 6%. And so it drops. It drops. And I think it's because people played it more and were like, actually, this isn't great. 5 should be average though. Well, part of it is if it's based on like the American school grading system, which a lot of it is, like a C is passing and a C is acceptable. Like a C is good. You wrote a fine paper, maybe not even good. It's fine. A 60 is like a D, and a D is you are barely passing. You probably should be failing, but you're barely passing. And then anything below 60 is failing. So a lot of the scoring systems are based around that. And if you like live elsewhere in the world, or if you didn't go to a school that grades like that, because I know some even American schools don't grade like that, but if you don't, you might not be familiar with how they break it down. But that's where most of these scoring systems came from, was the American schooling system and how they score it. Let's see this real quick. I remember seeing this ages ago. This was posted 3 years ago, but basically this is a video. I guess I should say news segment. There we go. So this was posted like 3 years ago. It is a guy by the name of Josh Sawyer and another guy, Jorge Salgado. Do any of you guys know who those people are? And they sat down with IGN, and they just sat on a couch basically and watched a screen while a little video played. And this video absolutely broke their brains. And the subsequent clip of their reactions to it went viral. What I'm talking about is the developers of Fallout New Vegas reacting to the 10-minute speed run of the game. So the game director, Josh Sawyer, and area designer, Jorge Salgado, they reacted to this speed run and were blown away. Which, I mean, imagine you spend like a lot of time working on something. In this case, I was going to say years and years working, but New Vegas was 18 months. So not that long, but you build this whole thing and you're like, yeah, and this is a really massive game. It can take you dozens and dozens and dozens of hours to beat. You know, if you're doing all the side stuff, maybe even longer than that. It's a massive game. And then you see that somebody's able to beat it in 10 minutes. And this is their reaction to seeing how it works. Okay. It's pretty amazing. If you've played New Vegas, you're about to have your mind blown as well, because it's pretty crazy.
he got the marker and then fast traveled to the marker instantly.
Oh, Teddy, know you're there.
I forgot that I worked on this game.
Yeah, for some people it was like 18 months. Imagine a project you worked on for 18 months. I worked as a janitor for more than 18 months. And sometimes I just put that out on my brain. But to imagine like all those months I spent scrubbing floors and toilets and stuff, that was about the time it took them to put together Fallout 4 or Fallout New Vegas. That's crazy.
Wow. Look at that. I knew we had some bugs, but man, look at that.
Yep. Bugsidian.
Bugsidian. And then they're going to watch it from beginning to end. Those are just some highlights. Devs react to speedruns.
Hello, this is Josh Sawyer, the studio design director from Obsidian Entertainment. I was the director and lead designer on Fallout New Vegas.
And hello, my name is Jorge Salgado. I am currently a lead area designer in an announced project at Obsidian Entertainment. I started with the company precisely with this title as an area designer.
That's cool.
Look at that.
That's funny. I did it too, man. There's no shame in. Oh yeah, there's no shame in any of it. I mean, I think everybody should work as a janitor in fast food and in retail. If I've worked in all three, and I think everybody, it should be like mandated by the government that everybody works in those fields, because you will start to treat everybody way nicer when you've worked those jobs. You start to understand the crap that they put up with. Like, there is so much nonsense you'd put up with in retail, from customers, from bosses, all that. In, you know, any sort of a janitorial or custodial work, you're getting your hands literally dirty cleaning up after people. It's very humbling, but also makes you really appreciate the people that keep society functioning by doing the dirty jobs and stuff. And fast food, it also is just good because for you, it might be just a quick stop at the drive-thru, but behind the door, behind the walls, there are people that are sweating their butts off, woke up early, that are miserable working this job just to get a paycheck to support their families and stuff, or put themselves through college or whatever else. So everybody could use an experience to that, just to have a little bit more empathy. That's my official stance. That's my stance. Yeah, you're in customer service right now. Godspeed. That is not easy. I did Taco Bell and Best Buy before graduating college. Taught me a lot. Yeah, I think it's a great experience. It's a great experience for everybody to have. A lot of respect to the plumbers who replaced my water boiler today. Oh yeah, no, I mean, I will say one time, I told you guys about the time I was selling an apartment building in Evans, Colorado, and we were doing a sewer scope. And because the buyers wanted to check it out, make sure there weren't any issues. Because in apartment buildings all the time, if a tenant gets upset because they got evicted or something, they'll just take concrete and pour it into the toilet and then flush it a bunch. So they'll run concrete down, clog up the toilet, and then it dries out. And then you have solid concrete in your sewer line that runs under the building. So the only way to get to it is by digging out the foundation of an entire building, and the tenant does it just because they were pissed they were getting evicted because they didn't pay rent for 6 months. So it happened all the time. But we did this sewer scope to make sure that hadn't happened in this property. And the plumber that was there was this like 20-year-old dude, and he just like showed up, really greasy hair down like his shoulders. He's just wearing his overalls, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this for you real quick. He's super chill, super cool guy. But like, he opened the sewer access and he couldn't get the thing fed in right. This guy shoved his arm in all the way up to his shoulder, barehanded, like just rolled his sleeve up a little into the sewer line to like feed the cable through. I was like, oh, like, why would you do this? Why would you do that to yourself? But he was so desensitized to it. He's like, whatever. I just take a shower when I get home. I was like, bro, I couldn't do it.
Wait a minute, that's Italian.
Yeah, I was about to say I haven't heard this VO before. Is that the secret to the speed run?
Yeah, a lot of
the Italian version is just a little bit faster.
Yeah, a lot of
They
games
move
will
like
do
a
that.
Ferrari, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen a lot of games
That is
also speed run
interesting.
with like Japanese instead.
Maybe they do it because then the voices are the length of the VO must be shorter.
I don't know.
Either that or Sharo, who
Is
happens to
Italian.
be the star here, is Italian.
Oh, dude, I forgot how derpy
Whoa.
I didn't know
some of
you
the
could click through
NPCs
the
look
menu
like
that fast.
Some of those NPC
You know, it's the first time
faces,
that I
man.
actually see speed run of New Vegas.
Oh, really? They're
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, the fact that the game is still fairly buggy,
Mm-hmm.
I think makes it. What in the world? What was that?
Yeah, how did he do that?
So I think what he just did was he did all the skills super quick, and then he quick loaded or quick saved and quick loaded
What in
to
the
skip the
world?
pop-ups.
Really buggy. I mean, the
What
fact that the
skills
game
did he
is
pick? Did he pick any specifically?
still fairly buggy,
Mm-hmm.
I think makes it. What in the world? What was that?
Yeah.
How did he do that? So he chose what was it like? He chose endurance. I didn't even see it.
Yeah, I didn't see it. It went so fast, and then there was like I don't know. I don't even know what's happening. Is everyone just going to be like, these devs don't even know their own game?
Yeah, what the hell?
It's funny when the devs
Like,
are
what
like,
was
what
that?
is happening?
What was that? It was like loading a bunch of stuff super fast.
Yeah, I think he's just quick loading or quick saving, quick loading to skip pop-ups and stuff.
This is great for my Italian practice, by the way.
Very good.
Wait a minute.
Molto bene. What?
What happened
They just
there?
clipped
How was
out the
he able to
wall.
leave so quick?
What?
That's another thing I remember hearing about, where in creation engine games, a lot of them you can get to corners, and if you have forward velocity and then you quick save and then you quick load back in, the engine isn't like, it hasn't precisely placed you properly when you save. So when you load back in, it can clip you out of the wall because it's trying to place you where you were headed to instead of where you actually were. And that can allow you to clip outside of buildings in ways that you shouldn't be able to do. And then it forces you to load to nearby areas and stuff. It's pretty insane.
So he got the marker and then fast traveled to the marker instantly.
Yeah.
Oh, Chad, it's not your day.
It's just faster to kill him and move on.
Yeah, I know fast travel. What?
What is it? What's this?
Okay.
What in the world?
What?
Wait, what's happening?
I'm assuming the grenade going off is somehow
Related to all of this?
Did the grenade blow up and then launch him forward, and then he does the quick save, quick load thing to preserve velocity and move forward, warping all the way?
okay. You know, I've seen some of this, like the looping reload jumping thing, but this is next level.
Oh, wow.
Is this with like macros or something? Like, how is this even?
I mean, yeah, you're just absolutely just flying through the whole thing.
The trick I've been doing with a revolver is known as a reload dash. Reload dashing is a glitch where we exploit a reloading animation that is found on guns that reload one bullet at a time, like the 357 revolver or the cowboy repeater. For whatever reason, those animations force movement in whichever direction you're holding during the reload at the end of that animation. Using that to our advantage, we initiate a reload, interrupted by pulling out the Pip-Boy, then unequipping the revolver all while holding forward, which releases a massive amount of stored momentum after putting the Pip-Boy back down.
Red Rocks.
Okay, so I think what they're doing is glitching. Well, I don't know the exact mechanism, but what they're doing is trying to get the fast travel locations so that later on,
Right.
they can instantly travel.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I've seen that done with Hidden Valley and Black Mountain. I don't think I had seen it done with.
This
Red
is why,
Rock
like,
Canyon.
some games, when you learn to speedrun them, it makes the game almost more fun. Like, I think a lot of Soulsborne games, if you can learn how to speedrun bosses and stuff, it can make them more fun because you're like, wow, I'm so good at this. But some games like this, where you see, like, the speedrun is just F5, F6, F5, F6. Like, it's just quick loading, like, constantly, or doing this cool macro of pulling something up and then closing it down quickly, unequipping this item, and then re-equipping it. It's like, it's just a series of macros or moving your fingers in a very particular way. And it's a little less fun, I'm sure, especially when you're grinding for like a record or something and you just have to do this all day for hours.
This is extreme.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I believe I
mean,
can fly.
It is a glitch of the game. My God, I knew it had some bugs, but man, look at that.
Yep. Bugsidian. Wait, what the? What? Going back to the main menu is part of the strat? What?
He's
Oh
just
my God.
flying right.
You know
into
that
the
there's
territory.
got to be a forum where it breaks down like every like half second of the strat here. Yeah, when you're sailing towards the monorail, exit to the main menu and reload, and that takes 5 seconds. Like what?
And that shapes off.
Or is he not even loading, like quick loading or quick save quick loading? Is it just that the game can't keep up, so it's going to a load screen? I don't even know, dude.
Time. Yeah, he's not even letting things reload on time. I'm seeing them pop up.
Farewell, Pearl.
Yep.
So she's necessary to just talk to, like one of the first people.
Yeah, see, that's the main thing I'd seen a lot of people do is during the looping reload, there's some like jump during the looping reload that will just launch you.
Oh yeah, look at that. And then there's also save and prevent you from taking falling damage.
Yeah, and then he flips outside. And then he can open the door from the other side.
Oh my God, he got into New Vegas.
It's just that easy, folks.
Yeah.
I've seen people get to New Vegas about this fast, but not with all the quick travel stuff that they already unlocked.
Yeah, that's barely a few minutes in.
Yeah, we're at 4 minutes, folks.
Remember
We're at 4 minutes and we're on the floor of the Ultralux.
Remember when we were worried about people heading to New Vegas too quickly, straight up from Good Springs?
I mean, but we always I always intended that people would, not that they would glitch there, but that they, like crafty people.
What was that?
Crafty people could fight their way past the cazadores, or they could somehow sneak by the Death Claws. You know, so it was always intended, like the story is constructed so that it still makes sense because you're really just trying to find Benny. So if you get here right away, it doesn't make the story broken or anything like that.
No. But
yeah, 4 minutes was not really the...
No, not the goal. And remember when we actually even put like signs outside Good Springs saying it's like, hey, it's dangerous that way. You know?
Yeah, which then, you know, RPG players...
Exactly.
Caravan Shotgun does it.
Oh, wow.
RPG players are like, yeah, I play RPGs. I know what it means when it says it's dangerous. It means for everyone except for me.
Exactly. So Benny's done. Benny's done, and he's got the chip.
Man. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Got the chip. Got Yes Man. Now it's time to. So now they're gonna get outside and fast travel to all the places they already went. So they're gonna go to the Boomers. They're gonna go to Red Rock. They're gonna go to. Well,
you have to talk to.
You have to, yeah. You have to talk to them.
Talk to all of them.
So the fact that they got all the fast travels means they can just. Okay, bye.
Oh, and that's why he went to the Ultralux for. Right, to know the fact.
Wait, what does going to the Ultralux first do?
It's weird hearing people in New Vegas yell, "Attention!" It's a little jarring.
Well, you have to talk to all of the factions. At least you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, even with Yes Man, you have to do that.
Right. Yes, man. My favorite part of the game to script.
He's gonna clip in
out of
there.
all the crazy things we did there, that was.
Just because he zips around all over the place.
Yeah, just trying to figure out how to make this guy all come back somewhere whenever you decide to randomly kill it.
Yep.
6 minutes in and he's already at Mr. House.
Wow. Look at that.
Not so tough, are you?
Yeah, look at
One
that.
pellet from a caravan shotgun. Well, see ya, folks.
And that hole on the ground.
And then just because he's doing all this,
So
he's
10
leveling
minutes.
up so fast.
In 3.5 minutes, this will be done.
That's insane.
Let's see it. All right, let's see what you got,
Dude.
Sharo.
Hey, these sound really good in Italian.
Yeah.
You have to be so on your game. Every moment there's something happening. When you expect it with a 10-minute speedrun.
It's Italian VO with English text.
Hey everyone, it's Ronnie, the video editor. We had a slight video freeze here. but Josh and Jorge's conversation continued, so I'm just going to let them finish their snippet out right here, and then resync the footage and play until the end. So it's going to look a little weird, but don't worry, I'll handle the fallout. Get it? Fallout. Okay, bye.
I think one of the things that surprised me when we were first working on this is that a lot of the signage in the game, like in the vaults and stuff like that, those are all localized textures. So we wound up having to actually make texture variants for each of the languages that it looked in, which I'd never actually worked on a game that did that. Normally, if it wasn't actually a string, it didn't get localized. So
I know. The more you know. Oh, hello. Oh, there's a goober. Hi.
His first pair of shoes, thinking he'd be a size 4 like Lachlan.
Yeah.
He's a size 2.
Yes, I think a little bit
Look
of
at
feet.
how rich these shoes are.
That's outrageous. It's good to see you. Your hair looks great.
Hey guys.
Yeah. Ooh. You having a good day? This is Mr. Orion. Little Ori. You like the lights?
It's beautiful, Dad.
The lights are beautiful. That mohawk gets illuminated so beautifully. Wow. You look kind of like a rooster. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, you love the microphone. Uh-oh. He's so silly. He's so silly. Well, those are the most adorable shoes I've ever seen in my life. So Lachlan had the biggest feet you've ever seen in your life for a baby. Like, it didn't even look proportional. Double that size at the same age. And Ori has normal feet, but a massive head. It's just funny. They're little goobers, really. At the end of the day, they're just little goobers.
Kind of cool.
I love the style that we had for those posters and everything else.
Yep, it was a lot of work, but
I was just like, imagine like a whole quest line in Fallout New Vegas or a Fallout game where like you get to go and it's a whole quest line around revitalizing a theater, and then you get it up and running, and then all of the people that are in your little group or your companions get to sit in the theater and watch a pre-war film or something once you get the projector running again. Like, there's so many little moments and story beats that I could see happening in the Fallout show, but I think of them in like the games. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that. We'll get to talk to a super mutant for the 15,000th time. That's what we'll get to do.
The artist did a really great job. I mean, you know, especially considering we only had 18 months on this game, the artists, what they were able to do to turn things around was just amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, zipping along with the old revolver.
That's the glitch, right? Where you can just...
Well, that's the main one, to just
forward.
rocket yourself all over the place. Hidden Valley.
Yeah, totally. Look at that.
Time to...
It's
Sorry,
just
it didn't work out.
Yep, you just getting pissed off. That's it. That's all you need to do.
Just interact with them once.
Yeah, and that was an intentional thing. I remember John Gonzalez and I talked about this. John Gonzalez was the narrative lead on the project. And with Yes Man, you really just have to make contact. Like, basically, if you talk to him at all or you, like, go and fight him at all, you can just go back to Yes Man and be like, yeah, it didn't work out.
Exactly.
Sorry, man. Which, I mean, and we know that most players won't do that, but, you know, we like the fact that you can do it that way if you want.
Yeah, it also seemed to make sense to not have to acquire also other interaction with them, right? Because Yes Man was our fall through, right?
Exactly,
Like, you
yeah.
decided to anger everybody in the world here, still make it work.
Yeah, and John did a really great job of making him react to that, where he's kind of like, well, that doesn't really seem like a good idea, but I support you.
Such a great character.
7.5 minutes.
Ciao.
And he's putting the platinum chip in.
Who's the Italian Dave Foley, I wonder?
Right.
Doing the voice of Yes Man. Are you telling me that in less than 3 minutes, we're going to be done with this game?
Look at all that work we did.
Look at all the work.
This is great. I'm super impressed, I have to say.
Yeah. What?
Wait an hour?
What?
Oh, maybe that's faster than actually waiting for all that time?
For what? I guess I don't know what's happening.
Like if you have to wait X amount of hours for X to happen, you know, I think this is even faster than just letting the time pass.
So this is before the Battle of...
I think it's specifically because the load screen doesn't count towards your total time, but any time spent in-game does. So if you just like took this meter all the way up and waited the full amount of time, it would count all the time it's ticking down, whereas the load screen, when you just do it in hour increments, don't count.
Hoover Dam.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So I'm trying to figure out why, but what's the wait? What is the waiting for?
We had some safeguard or something. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, right. He needed some time to upgrade the security drones or whatever.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yep. I forgot that I worked on this game.
One more thing.
Yep.
Oh, this brings so many memories. I haven't seen it in so long. Great.
Power the substation, baby.
And the NCR guy's like, wait, where are you? What?
I love the propping too. This brings a lot of memories. Just looking at all the props and how haphazard it looked.
The land of kit bashing, because we had so little time to make new assets. We really had to use a lot of the stuff Bethesda made for Fallout 3, and thankfully there was a lot of it.
Yeah, 100%. They did a great job with their assets. We put them all together and mish them around.
Yep.
Good.
All right, here we go. It's the dam.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. 923. What? I gotta know the strat. I gotta know the launching strat. Oh, okay. So it is like he's rocket jumping. He's basically grenade jumping. So they shoot the grenade and then do the reload right before the impact, and it propels them, you know, like a million miles basically.
Oh, wow. Wait, he's at the camp.
Here we go. Hey, Leggett, what's up with your sword?
Memories of this camp.
Speech 100.
Yep, done.
Well.
Wow.
Dude.
It's just that easy.
Yep. That's so awesome.
When does it officially end? Hey guys, what's up?
It's pretty freaking
Oh
hilarious.
man, I remember the scripting on this one too. That was a good time making this area.
Yeah, New Vegas is one of those games where the 100 speech is quite useful. It's a game that actually really lets you use that to your advantage. It's like there's some games where maybe it gets you better prices on stuff, or you might have a couple interactions with people that are easier. But New Vegas is a game where, like, if you want to play through just as a smooth talker and that's your whole meta, you can absolutely do it. Yeah. And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again, and the Mojave Wasteland was changed forever.
That is really, really impressive.
To dream the impossible dream. 1021.
That's crazy.
The courier, with the aid of Yes Man, drove both the Legion and the NCR from Hoover Dam, securing New Vegas's independence from both factions.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, like I said, I think the earliest speedrun that I saw within the first few months, I think I saw someone at like 19, and that was pretty nuts. But sub 11.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I've never seen an 1121, and I never will.
The fires died, New Vegas remained.
I love the art of these ones.
Yeah,
Very good.
Great.
Yeah. That's
incredible.
That's good
Well
job,
done.
Cheryl. Good job. Really, really impressed.
It's outrageous.
Awesome. Will anyone top it? Who can say?
Do we know what the world record is now? Is it still 1021? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Fallout New Vegas speedrun world record. Speedrun.com. 10 minutes, 7 seconds. Sharo is at 9. Wait. Load remove time. Oh, so it's even better. Real time attack. Okay. So with the same timing as the last one we saw, the world record now is 8 minutes, 18 seconds. Okay. But even in real time, it's only 10 minutes. Wow. That's just crazy, dude. That's just outrageous. Like, Jesus. Oh, and they have it for different endings. So, Yes Man, the house ending is 8 minutes 26. Legion is 10:37. NCR is 10:41. Glitchless. What's Glitchless like? Glitchless is 22 minutes. Wow. Max Quests, 2 hours. Vanilla Glitchless. Only one person's tried it for 4 hours. Do they still do... So I'm assuming they don't do the, like, gun reload thing if they're doing Glitchless. They just run. Yeah. Wow, dude. If you really love a game, speedrunning's a great way to get to know the ins and outs of it. I'll tell you what. Some cases it can suck the fun right out, but that's only if you get like really competitive with it, if you're chasing world records or something. If you just want to learn the strategies to get to know the game, you'll learn so many cool little routes, so many cool little details that they put in the game. Like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Which stocks we buy today? I haven't actually checked the market. I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what's happening right now. I think when in doubt right now, like Microsoft is a safe bet. Apple's probably relatively safe. There's options. There's options. Wait, what is this? Okay, so this... Okay, this is apparently funny, so let's see. Let's see. I'll be the judge of that. I'll be the judge of that. Let's see.
Everybody's in debt. Why don't we just print more money? And hold on, because I've heard the whole inflation, it'll go up topic. Well, just don't. Just don't make it go up. Let's just get the printers going. Let's print some more money. Like, aren't we the ones printing money? Hold on. Let me really logically think about this. The trees make paper. The paper is money. Okay, so we cut down more trees, snip, snip, and we print some more money. The world would be a better place if I was president.
I think she's being sarcastic. She was joking. Stephanie Colton wasn't.
Your app? What? What is this? Hey, for me, do not post on TikTok if you are joking. I'm at the gym trying to work out and I get a DM from some dude telling me that my video of me joking about printing money that I posted earlier, it is like viral right now on the like new Twitter app.
I can't handle when people are doing like selfie videos, but they're just staring at themselves instead of at the camera. I know it's weird to look at the camera lens because like right now I'm just looking at glass. I'm looking at glass, a lens, a sensor. There's no one in this room with me. It's just me. This is weird, but it's what you kind of do when you make content and you talk to the camera. When people like are filming a video and they're just looking at themselves in the display, it gives me a headache. Yeah, I think she was joking. I don't think she was being serious. Oh yeah, you remember this? Oh, I forgot about this one. Okay, this was pretty good. Remember this guy?
Day 4 out here.
Remember this guy?
Hey there, TikTok. It's day 4 out here on the boat. You know me. Living out here on the water till tax season's over. Taking advantage of that maritime law, just like George Washington said. Now, I ain't got no water, but I got a 48-pack of Miller Lite. I had myself a turtle for breakfast, and I'm living like a king, baby. Living like a president, like George Washington intended, man. God bless America, and screw you communists if you don't like how we do it out here on the Gulf of Mexico.
How it's going? Day one of tax court. Oh man, that's pretty funny. That's pretty freaking funny. These are nice glasses. I bet this guy's actually pretty rich. I think he's probably joking. Anybody who says I had a turtle for breakfast, I think is probably joking. If we're talking about 2024, I think he's joking around, but still very, very funny. If he's not joking, that's just delicious, but almost as delicious as a turtle for breakfast, I'll tell you what. Okay, this is pretty funny. This one is funny.
My daughters will never have to work a day in their lives if they don't want to. First, they're homeschooled, so we're already preconditioning them to live their life with complete freedom.
Okay, I was homeschooled a lot as a kid. I didn't start going to school till high school. Explains a lot, right? But I think I turned out okay. But this gets so wild. Just wait.
Even as adults. Second, I'm teaching them the skill of day trading so they can create unlimited passive income straight from their phones, anytime, anywhere, any place.
She has her like preteen daughters learning how to day trade.
This is my daughter showing me her trades. My daughters will...
Like, there are custodian accounts you can give your children if they're under 18 where they can have like stock holdings or bonds or this or that. But there's regulations in place for being allowed to like use leveraged assets, trading options, stuff like that. Not everybody can do it. I don't know how this is allowed, but that's a thing. The comments are priceless though, okay? My 3-year-old just got his commercial pilot's license. I'm doing the same with my 2-year-old son. But we are teaching him blackjack. Teaching him passive income. Yeah. Yeah, pretty important to do your research on that one. Gotta train up. Hold on. What's this one? This is gonna be some sort of stupid, like, this is gonna be a crypto bro. I can already tell. I can tell by the haircut.
Okay, yeah.
So my boy get money on.
Do you really?
My boy gets money, yeah.
You wanna see it?
Yeah. What platform you use?
MetaTrader.
You can't use MetaTrader no more.
Yeah, you can. You talk about for futures. You see, she don't even know.
No, you
It's
can't
futures.
use it in the U.S. no more.
Yes, you can. I trade on it. I have a live account.
You got a
Live.
funded account? Yeah, you got a funded account. So
This is a live
that's not
funded
your money though.
It's like a demo, like practice account basically. So some platforms you can go in and get like, I mean, it's basically just play money, where you can just hop on and try to like experiment and see what would have happened if you had traded this much or done this. So you can kind of just pretend. Or like practice. In college, we did it in some of my finance courses. We had like semester long like competitions where we would all get into the same, like you can think of it like a server, but we'd all get together and then we'd be broken up into maybe teams or individuals, and whoever had the largest portfolio at the end of the semester would win the prize, which was like either a big gift card or they'd get extra credit or whatever else. And it was really, really fun. You know, me and my team, we won it like every time we were together in a class, which was kind of cool because we got kind of cracked. We had the pro strats, but that's what this guy's doing. He's trying to flex to a girl saying he's super rich, showing a not real account.
The account is funded.
It is funded.
Go to your history.
I lost a band right now.
Profit negative 1,600.
We it's a bad week, but we still up. We still up. We still up. From 10K to 46.
You knew how to do it.
I do. You gotta take L's to learn.
You gotta take L's to learn. I think I remember Ben Franklin saying that. You got to take L's to learn. Bitcoin. Oh my God. Oh, this guy. I want to know what this guy's like, who this guy is. This is another Bitcoin guy. This one we've seen before, but this is just full on brain rot.
I'm the youngest billionaire in the world right now. What's your net worth? I can explain this in a way that might sound crazy. I'm a billionaire. Let's think about it. Does a billionaire have a liquid $1 billion in his bank account? No. Okay, so is he actually a billionaire? No. Like liquid billionaire? No, I'm not a liquid billionaire yet. Probably will be mathematically soon. But I'm a billionaire because number one, let's just say I can make 500 to $1 million a month. That's like 12 mil a year. You do like a money calculator since it's like a hedge fund style thing. We're already in the hundreds of millions. And then other businesses. I'm a Web3 wealth manager now. Like I own a hedge fund and manage money for people. If I went today and was like, I have this huge opportunity, everyone give me $500,000 I can afford. Probably could raise about $50 to $100 million right there. So as far as the money calculator thing, my net worth is above $1 billion. Hopefully.
Literally everything he just said was utter nonsense. It's just so bad, dude. It's so bad. And then we take the money, put it in a money calculator kind of thing because it's like a hedge fund thing. What? What? That's not how that works. Oh, guys. Oh, guys, it's happened. Hold on. Hold up. Look. It's happened. Yong, the Prophet of Doom. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League now has less players than Marvel's Avengers, which is
with every
dead.
passing moment, it becomes more and more clear that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is as good as dead. Like, there's just no recovering from this. If you look at the recent stats, it really highlights that the interest surrounding this game has all but completely disappeared, and it would take nothing short of a miracle or a complete overhaul that would take way too much time, money, manpower, and resources to invest into something that has lost so much spark and interest for this to be a viable live service in the long term. Besides,
I mean, I will say what's blown my mind more than anything else has been that people are just apathetic about it. Like, it's not even that they are like negative towards it or that people hate it or are bored by it, whatever. It's that people just literally don't care. Because even games that are dumpster fires still get higher player counts. Like, because people are curious. People want to check it out and see if it's really as bad as everybody's saying. You know, it's that morbid curiosity. Suicide Squad didn't even have that, which is pretty rare. A lot of games, like, what was that game we talked about like last year? There was a game that launched and was like super, super buggy, but it had some hype. Well, even regardless, like even games like Gollum, people were buying Gollum just to try it, to see if it was that bad, which is wild. Because they were just curious. They were morbidly curious. Starfield doesn't even have that, or Starfield, Freudian slip. Suicide Squad doesn't even have that. It fits into a category of game I'm deeming lolcow games, which is a sort of a new phenomenon where basically the game is so like openly detested by gamers that they just like to watch it fail. And that's where games like Gollum fit in. That's where games, I think Starfield has landed in that, where people don't like playing the game. They much more enjoy talking about the game. They enjoy talking about the game's shortcomings, its faults, its poor attempts. Redfall. Redfall is an example. I think that's what, Redfall. Redfall was also like a dumpster fire, but people were still downloading it, granted on Game Pass, just to see if it was that bad. And so it's a little different because Suicide Squad was $70, but still, it's just a baffling phenomenon. But it shows that nobody was really interested in this from the start.
seeing the recent reviews being mixed compared to the more positive reviews we saw in the early days, there's the fact that the player base of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, just months after its launch, has sunk to an all-time low. And this is very apparent if you look at the Steam charts data that is currently on display. I mean, look at this. There's a 24-hour peak of just 200 players as of the recording of this video. 146 played a day ago. We are now at a point where Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is in the low triple digits, which, I mean, is such a minuscule amount of players that it...
Minuscule. I agree, Yong. That's wild. Dude. And this is within season 1. Like, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
It is going to impact the multiplayer aspect of this live service. People are going to have trouble finding other players to matchmake with to play the co-op aspect of this game, co-op being a huge emphasis of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
Specifically in the end game. I mean, the end game co-op is crucial, especially for the Elseworld missions and stuff. If you don't have a party, you're just kind of screwed. And already matchmaking was rough. Now, granted, it will have cross-platform matchmaking, and this is just Steam. So maybe when you factor in like PlayStation players and Xbox players, you get to around 1,000 players at any given moment right now. Still not great because that's global. So 1,000 players global. Oh, thank you, my babe. Oh, she did it. Nikki made pulled pork, barbecue pulled pork, which is my favorite meal ever. She's been working on, oh, I'm excited for this. Okay, we'll wrap this up because I'm hungry.
And this is kind of a similar trend that we saw with Marvel's Avengers, which similarly dipped to these kinds of numbers, except what's crazy is that Marvel's Avengers is currently a dead live service, as in it's been delisted from stores and you can still access it, but they're not updating the game. They're only maintaining.
And you can't buy it. That's the important thing. That's what delisted means. You cannot buy it even if you want to.
The exoskeleton that remains, and the only players who can access this game at this point are those who have already purchased it, because again, the game has been delisted from stores and they're no longer making new copies for it. This dead live service had more players a day ago than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League did by a slight amount, but you know, it still says a lot about the current state of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and how little hope, unfortunately, there is for this game that once upon a time people looked forward to and then were skeptical about after they heard it'd be a live service, before all of their fears were realized when the game came out and had all the problems that people were kind of anticipating it would have.
Dude, it's... Wow. It is literally performing worse than an actual dead game that you cannot buy. It's just, it's stunning. It's stunning. I mean, when Warner Brothers executives were like, yeah, it's failed to live up to our expectations. That is like the understatement of the century. I think they probably have spent somewhere in the realm of like $200 to $350 million on this game when you factor in all the marketing and everything. And depending on how many people refunded and all of that at launch, they might have made like 50 to 70 million. Like, there is no way to look at this other than as a catastrophic failure. It's just shocking. And I don't know, you know, it seems like superhero fans are not that into live service games. They've voted with their wallets twice now pretty conclusively that they're not into this. I think it's also, this game came out at a really bad time when superhero fatigue is also at a fever pitch. You know, we were at kind of the, granted this is DC versus like Marvel movies and DC movies, but I think superhero fatigue is a thing just generally, where if this game had come out in like 2018, it probably could have found some more success. But nowadays, people are already sick and tired of live service stuff, and people are sick and tired of just all of this. This whole thing is just a dumpster fire. It's ridiculous. It's stunning. These comments are, I think they're right though. It's a loot game with bad loot. It's a co-op game with bad co-op. It's a live service game with terrible content drops. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Literally every part of it sucks. Like every part of it. And that's where I just, there's no explaining it. There's no justifying it. There's nothing else you can say. It's just not good. It's just everything it needed to do to be successful, it failed at. Yeah, this game still has stands on Reddit who swear it sold millions on console because it's more of a console game. Yeah, I mean, the communities are dying just in general. I don't know if they kill off the game by the end of this year. I don't know if they try to get through all the rest of the seasons, but I mean, we've heard rumors and stuff about what they're doing with the next couple of seasons. And they have like Mr. Freeze, Dr. Freeze is like, what is it, daughter? I can't even remember. It's such a deep cut in DC lore that I'm like, who? Like all but the hardest core fans are gonna be like, what? Who is that? And then they have like a couple of other people coming back. Like, I just don't think that there's gonna be anything compelling enough. Joker was their big swing, and it was such a miss that it's just a waste. It's just a joke. Live service games are oversaturated. You need to be near perfect, like Helldivers 2 to thrive. Yeah, you got to be very, very good, have amazing content, consistent drops, and then you also need to be original and unique. The core problem with Suicide Squad is it's just a bad game, and one of the reasons it's a bad game is because it leans into every trope of tropes at every opportunity. Like, it doesn't really do anything originally. Everything it does is just a rehash of something other games have done before, but it does it way worse. And I mean, even in the case of like the Joker, it's just a worse version of Joker that we've had from other Rocksteady games. So no matter which way you look at it, it's just like, it feels like a bad, just everything is bad. Everything's bad. It's hard to find saving grace in all of it, except for, hey, the character designs and the animations are good. I wish there were more of them and there was like an actual story, but whatever, you know? It's just, but I mean, this is hopefully going to send a message, but I probably won't. Probably. But that's why I would encourage all of you to look at supporting games from smaller teams or teams that are not trying to milk you for everything you're worth and nickel and dime you. Of course, Manor Lords launched today. If you've had this on your Steam wish list, go check it out. I just did my video on it today as well. So if you want to see me try the game early, you can see that. It's actually out now, but I filmed it early. It's, you know how it is. But Manor Lords is made by one dude. It's awesome. It's actually priced at $29.99, starting 25% off, which is awesome. And it's a good time. It's a good time. It's got a long way to go. It's got some stuff that needs to happen before it's fully done, but it's a good time. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for Manor Lords video. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, it was yesterday was one of those days where I was like, I swear to God, I'm working, because I was playing Manor Lords for a lot of the day trying to get stuff filmed. And at one point I was like, I want to show everybody on the video how, like, if bandits raid your camp or raid your town and village, they can burn it down and then you're just kind of screwed. So I was trying to say, like, be ready. But I needed to get like them upset enough to come and raid my village, and it was actually shockingly difficult to get them to come and raid my village when I wanted them to. So I spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to find ways to piss off like barbarians near me, and it was just it's kind of funny. Yeah, it is also on Game Pass. That is true. That is true. It's also on V Rising has new content coming as well. Yeah, V Rising, if you haven't heard of that game, that's also an interesting one. It is also an early access game. You awaken as a vampire, hunt for blood in nearby settlements to regain your strength and evade scorching sun to survive, raise your castle, and thrive in an ever-changing open world full of mystery, gain allies online, and conquer the world of the living. And basically you go in and you have like your own sort of castle management stuff, but then you also have co-op stuff. You have combat while you go out and gain power by collecting blood and stuff. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I've gone through the like prologue tutorial thing. I haven't like poured a lot of hours into it, but I keep meaning to. Why is everything coming out in early access now? Because I think Baldur's Gate demonstrated for a lot of developers that getting community feedback is very valuable. Like, not only do you get to launch and get some much needed cash inflow, but also you can build your game with your community based on their feedback, which is super, super valuable. So you make the game exactly the way they want it, which is all that really matters. And then when the game is actually finally finished and you've been able to get it exactly where you want it to be, you can do a full 1.0 launch and marketing push and all of that stuff, bring it to other platforms, whatever else you need to do. So it's just a really good way of doing it. And I think Baldur's Gate demonstrated how well it can go. And I think you're going to see more and more games doing this. The one problem that I've seen creep up is that a lot of gamers, especially on Steam for whatever reason, don't seem to understand in some cases what early access means. Some gamers are like playing early access games like a No Rest for the Wicked or a Manor Lords. And they're like, yeah, well, it doesn't run that smooth and there's some stuff missing. So 6 out of 10. And it's like, bro, it's not done. You know it's not done. That's why it's called early access. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like that's what it is. That's why in my video on Manor Lords and on No Rest for the Wicked, I tried to really remind people. I was like, you should not be buying this expecting a finished product. If it were not early access and it ran like this or it was missing stuff like this, yeah, it would be a problem. If Manor Lords launched 1.0 the way it currently is, we'd have some problems. Because, yeah, it's got lots of... it's got bugs and it's got content missing and stuff like that. But it's not a 1.0 launch. And the developers are clear about that. The publishers are clear about that. And so there's no reason for anybody to be misunderstanding it at this point. It's just like willful ignorance more than anything. EA Games. It's early access. Sometimes you just can't unstupid stupid. It's true. V Rising remade their spell system and castle building system based entirely on player feedback, and it's awesome. Yeah, that's one of the great perks of it. Whereas otherwise, you'd be launching your game and putting it out into the wild, having never really had a lot of player feedback other than maybe private reviews and stuff. And you'd put it out there and be like, I hope they like it. But with early access, you can get the feedback, alter it, change it, and improve it. The other one I've been playing, or I played it last night with my college buddies. Because my buddy Corey was like, this looks interesting. We should try it. And so I was like, hell yeah, let's give it a shot. It's called Rotwood. You might have heard of it. Rotwood. And it's from Clay. But it's this cute little game where like you have a little cartoony character and you go and you fight. It's like a roguelike game. And you level up your character, fight through waves, and it's all co-op based, so you play with your friends and work through levels together. And it's a good time. It's a good time. We had a good time with it. And you know, there's certainly some quirks with it. There's some stuff, but as far as early access, it ran really well for me. I didn't run into any bugs as far as I could tell. It was a fun game. Not something you're going to get hundreds and hundreds of hours out of probably, but for like a smaller indie project for $10, yeah, I had a good time with it. Had a really good time with it. And the art style is super cute. The problem, Luke, is that your game can be in early access for years. Yeah, well, it's the same thing with Kickstarters. Like, I think the standard should be that you should only buy into, say, a Kickstarter or early access if you are okay with the game as it currently is. That's where you should consider it. For like Rotwood, I'm happy with the $10 I spent on Rotwood. I think it's a fun game, and I think last night alone, after like 3 hours of playing with my buddies, I think I got 3 hours worth of fun out of it easily, and we're gonna play it again this week, and we're just having fun. So I'm happy with it, and I think it was worth the $10 already. So I feel like it's earned its price tag. For other games though, if it's like 40, 50, 60 bucks for early access, which usually they're not, usually they're like 30 max, 40 max. At that point, I would be like, if you're happy with the game as it currently is, sure, get it in early access. But if you're not happy with it, wait until you are happy with it. Because the game will probably get better. They don't always get better, or sometimes they take ages to get put together. Like you said, it can take years, but you should only ever buy into one of these things if you're happy with how it is currently. And with Kickstarter, it's like you should only buy into it if you are okay losing the money and just wasting it. But in the case of early access, like only do it if you're comfortable with how the game is currently. Unless you're Star Citizen and you're just perpetually in early access and you never launch. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, everybody, it's 2 o'clock. We made it to 4 hours. I'm going to eat this delicious barbecue sandwich that my wife brought me. Wife Pog in the chat. So I'm going to do that. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. You guys are amazing. You make my dreams a reality. Go watch the Manor Lords video that we just put up. Tomorrow we'll be putting up a Fallout 76 video. Rockin' and rollin'. And yeah, next week will be a good week. I'm excited for it. So much love, everybody. I will see you on Monday for another stream, okay? Much love. I'll see you. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.